Alder Jeanette Morrison, Ward 22.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Richard Furlow, Ward 27.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, so a couple of quick announcements before we begin. If you have a cell phone or a pager or some electronic device with a really wonderful ringtone or a really lousy ringtone, whatever the ringtone is, we do not want to hear it. So turn off your phones or put them on silent mode. If you need to take a telephone call, by all means, please do, but do it outside of the chambers. If you need to talk to someone who's here, I would invite you to take your conversation out into the hall so that we may proceed with tonight's meeting and be able to hear what people have to say. Once we begin the public testimony portion, we will go according to the folks who have signed up on the list. We'll give each individual 3 minutes to give your testimony. We do that so that we can get through the entire list and we can then do the 9 departmental workshops that we need to do tonight. If you feel like you have more than 3 minutes of things to say, then you can come back the next time and say more, or you can put it in writing and send it to us, but we're going to give you each 3 minutes tonight. And my Vice Chair, Alder Punzel, will assist me in making sure to remind you when your time is nearly over. When you come forward to testify, we invite you to give us your name and your address for the record. And with that, we'll now begin the public hearing portion of this meeting. Starting with Paul Wessel. Following Mr. Wessel will be Han Pimentel Hayes. Good evening. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Paul Wessel. I live at 142 Nickel Street. I'm a product of New Haven's public schools. I'm a former economic development staffer for the city of New Haven and currently have the honor of serving as a volunteer hearing officer for LCI's anti-blight program. I'm here tonight to support funding for the Office of Climate and Sustainability. I think as a city, we have the capacity to do things better. Sustainability is about getting our needs met in a smarter, thoughtful, and cost-effective way. It's not about saving the planet. Sustainability is about creating a healthier, more resilient community for all of us who live here. It's about health justice. Back in 2015, we found that asthma rates in Dixwell, Fairhaven, The Hill, New Hallville, Dwight, and West Rock were 23%. That was compared to 14% in all of Connecticut and 13% nationally. Our kids, our elderly, and all of us deserve better. Older housing stock and gasoline and diesel exhaust are major contributors to this. And it's not enough just to treat the symptoms. We need to attack the causes. And that's exactly what the Office of Climate and Sustainability does. It provides leadership for pursuing funding to adopt smarter technologies to meet our needs. It figures out how to reposition our parking lots and landfill to revenue-generating sunlight harvesting to produce electricity and revenue for the city. It pushes the Board of Education to adopt electric school buses to stop poisoning our kids and bus drivers with toxic diesel fumes. It figures out how to cost-effectively leverage federal funding to acquire electric fleet vehicles for city staff. Alders, you know what your neighborhoods need. Mayor Elicker was smart enough to pick one of your own to head up the Office of Climate and Sustainability. Let's support them and allow them the opportunity to win state and federal grants and to leverage our city assets to make a healthier New Haven for all of us and for our kids. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wessel. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, have a good evening. Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Han Pimentel Hayes, followed by Jamie Myers McPhail. I'd also invite residents who give testimony, if you have a written copy of your testimony, it'd be wonderful for you to share it with our staff person, Don Hayes, Hayden, who's right there. Name and address for the record.
Good evening, Board of Alders and hearing attendees. My name is Han Pimentel Hayes, and I'm a current undergraduate student at Yale, where I've been for the last 3 years. I'm here today speaking on behalf of the Endowment Justice Collective at Yale, Our organization investigates Yale's financial practices and their social material consequences, which has included social dispossession, environmental destruction, and the facilitation of genocide. We are deeply familiar with the endowment and are here today in solidarity with New Haven Rising and the workers of Yale, demanding that Yale invest $110 million per year in the city of New Haven. But I am also here today to speak in a personal capacity. At Yale, I am considered a non-traditional student because I lived an entire adult life before I decided to go back to school. After dropping out of high school at 16, I worked several odd jobs, sometimes 2 at a time, before deciding to enroll in community college. I started my life before Yale, so I arrived at Yale with a car payment, car insurance, loan bill, all of the expenses that come with adult life. Because of my non-traditional status, I'm not allowed to live on Yale campus and have lived in New Haven neighborhoods for 3 years. And as a low-income student, Yale provides me with a full ride, but I still work multiple part-time jobs to afford living in the city of New Haven. Every year I have to consider if I can afford to keep living in New Haven, and I'm receiving financial aid from Yale, which is a luxury that many New Haven residents do not have. And when people ask me what I want to do when I graduate, I tell them I'd love to stay in New Haven, but I probably cannot afford to. Yale's own students cannot afford to subsidize Yale's tax breaks, and Yale is entirely ignorant of what it takes to afford living in this city. Working class people living paycheck to paycheck should not have to subsidize the wealth of a billion-dollar business. I urge everyone in this room to resist adopting a scarcity mindset that Yale has attempted to impose on New Haveners and students alike. The numbers do not lie. Yale's endowment has grown by $14 billion since the last voluntary contribution agreement. Historically, uncertainty and turmoil have been profitable for Yale. For example, Yale has profited from its investments in Puerto Rico's debt, and through investment managers, Yale provides plenty of money to ICE detention camps and surveillance companies. Yale has capitalized off of uncertainty and turmoil. They invest in high-risk, high-reward industries to build the endowment. We cannot let them claim that uncertainty and risk poses a threat to the very endowment that risk itself has built. Although the total contribution has risen, so has inflation and the cost of living, and they will continue to do so. The needs of our city continue to grow. Adjusted for inflation, this new agreement accomplishes nothing more than the last, and we have already seen how the last agreement has impacted our city. The previous agreement was not enough to fill the gaps in our budget and realize the fully funded city that we know is possible. We can recognize that, yes, this agreement is different. Perhaps it is worse. We must reject it and demand that Yale invest $110 million per year in the city. It is not charity. It is what Yale owes and the bare minimum, and we should not rest until this demand is met. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we get an address?
Yes, it's 70 House Street.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Questions from committee members? Seeing none, have a good evening. Jamie Myers McPhail, followed by Rebecca Corbett. Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record.
Jamie Myers McPhail, 178 Ellsworth Ave, apartment 2. Tonight I actually wanted to read one of my members' testimonies, Scotisa Miller, who lives at 120 Worcester Street, and maybe I'll come back to do mine next time. So my name is Scotisa Miller. I'm a member of New Haven Rising and the parent of 2 elementary age school kids. So I see the impact of lack of funding has on my children, as well as their classrooms and schools. I see the impact on their teachers, and we know there are also not enough support staff, and there are barely any extracurriculars. Students lack enrichment. The pools were closed all year, and the physical decay of our buildings sends the message that our kids do not matter. A couple weeks ago, I testified up in Hartford about fixing the ECS education cost sharing formula. The state ended the year with a $300 million surplus in its general fund and $4.1 billion in its budget reserve fund. But right here in our city, 2 wealthy institutions, Yale University and Yale New Haven Hospital, have taken over $1 billion in tax breaks in the last 6 years alone. The effect of these decisions on our schools is very evident. The state and Yale have the money to prioritize our students. Moreover, it is our money. It is taxpayer money. But what do you think it says to our kids when institutional and elected leaders prioritize protecting wealth over investing in schools? We know the fiscal guardrails and Yale's massive tax break are bringing our city and its schools to a breaking point. Schools like Catherine Brennan have already closed. There is mold in our classrooms. How much longer will Black and brown children have to pay the price for this wealth hoarding? We work hard to pay our taxes, but it's not going back into our schools or our communities. It's going to subsidize the already wealthy. Think of how different our city would be if we had back that $1 billion. We could reduce class sizes. We could provide after-school enrichment, summer jobs. We could have open community centers in every single neighborhood. We could make housing affordable and stop pushing families out of New Haven. Now is the time to break this cycle. The wealthy and corporations like Yale need to pay their fair share so we can make transformational investments in our future. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much for reading that on her behalf. If you'd be willing to leave that with Don, we'd be grateful. Thank you. I'd like to recognize our colleague, Alder Yvette Hamilton, who has joined us, member of the committee. I also want to recognize Alder Caroline Smith, who's in the audience with us. Next on the list is Rebecca Corbett, followed by Arjun Warrior, or Jewel Warrior, rather. Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Rebecca Corbett. I live at 616 Winthrop Avenue, New Haven. I'm a member of the Affordable Housing Commission and retired local 44 member. Across New Haven, you can see change happening. It feels like there's a new luxury development project popping up everywhere you look, and yet everyone knows there's a shortage of affordable housing. In 2022, the New Haven-Milford metropolitan area had a rental vacancy rate of just 1.3% compared to a national average of 5.6%. Many advocates declare any vacancy rate below 5% a housing emergency. With conditions like that, it's easy for large or unscrupulous landlords to take advantage of tenants or let properties become unsafe, and it's easy for growth to lead to gentrification that pushes long-term residents out. I know the struggles people face when it comes to housing. As a single mother on welfare years ago, I found myself homeless, living in a motel room with 2 boys. Years later, I got a good union job through Yale, through local hiring initiative, and was able to fulfill a lifelong dream and bought a house around the corner from one of my sons. I feel very fortunate to have found this job with good pay and benefits that allowed me to buy a house. I've seen the struggles of my grown children and their friends going through to start their lives. Both of my daughters recently moved back in with me. They're in their 30s with their 4 small children. Both are hardworking and shouldn't have to depend on me. However, with taxes going up every budget cycle, I worry as a retired person, I won't be able to afford to stay here much longer. As a movement, we've made progress bringing much needed revenue to our city from Yale and from state and federal governments. But it's clear we need long-term commitment from wealthy institutions like Yale that are contributing to gentrification and putting a giant hole in our budget year after year, taking over $1 billion in tax breaks in the last decade. In 2024 alone, even accounting for the state pilot money and Yale's voluntary contribution, Yale still took $106 million.
1 minute.
How can that be justified when our city already is housing an affordability crisis? Working people need relief. We shouldn't have to choose between taxes going up or being able to build and maintain safe housing for those that need it the most. Millions of dollars are lost in revenue from wealthy nonprofits every year focuses us to have to make these impossible choices. It also forces people to have to leave the city they call home. We need more resources to tackle big and complex problems like affordable housing and homelessness, and truly invest in what the mayor calls inclusive or equitable growth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, have a good evening.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Arjul Warrior, followed by Marquise Richard.
Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Hey, thank you so much for being here. My name is Arjun Warrior. I live at 62 Trumbull Street, and I just hope everybody's doing well today. I'm a student at Yale, where I'm a senior majoring in history. I'm originally from Southern California, but I've loved living here in New Haven for the past 4 years, and it's the care that I have for both of those communities, both my university and this city, that's really motivating me to come here to speak with you today. As some folks already have said, I think that if it is possible, the city really should consider fighting for a better deal from Yale. Adjusted for inflation, the new agreement is essentially the same as the past agreement. In the 2021 agreement, Yale's annual estimated contribution to the city that it was around $24 million a year. This new contribution of about $30 million a year is effectively the same as that one if you adjust for the inflation that's taken place over the course of the past 5 years. But in the same time period, Yale's endowment has grown from $31 billion to $45 billion, vastly outpacing the rate of inflation. And as a student at Yale, I just know that my university has the money to increase its fair share to the city and ensure that we can have world-class public schools, as well as a world-class private university here in New Haven. Overall, the new agreement is providing effectively the same amount of money as the last one, but New Haven's needs, as we know, have only grown, especially because of federal grant cuts, reducing city revenues. We have unhoused neighbors needing support. We've got schools in need of repair. There's also precedent for Yale increasing the voluntary contribution amount to Peter Salovey, the former president of Yale. He added a $10 million annual contribution on top of the original $13 million in 2021. So that's something that maybe the city could push for. Overall, just as a student, I find it totally unacceptable that my university, which already has tens of billions of dollars, is robbing New Haven of hundreds of millions in tax revenue, hoarding money and resources to maintain some of the best educational facilities in the world, while just next door public schools are struggling. And I think that the bare minimum that Yale could do is ensure the city budget is fully funded instead of forcing the city to raise taxes and make working people who are already living paycheck to paycheck bear the brunt of fully funding New Haven schools. So that's all to say that just Yale students stand with New Haven Rising. We stand with the city of New Haven. We know that the city deserves much, much, much more from our university. And if you think you can get a better deal, we would support you. We would organize alongside you. We would march with you. We would call on Yale, our university, to pay their share to New Haven. So I hope that the city considers doing this. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Marquise Richard, followed by Linda Reeder. Good evening. Name and address for the record.
My name is Marquise Richard. I live at 79 Long Hill Terrace, and I'm a city employee. I work in the IT department, and as of 2023, the city signed a contract with the unit of 3144. And on page 9 of that contract, it states, the work schedule for public safety employees in the IT department shall be flexible schedule that includes nights and weekends. The city shall provide public safety stipend in the amount of $5 an hour for all project leaders and network support employees who provide on-call support on the weekends and after hours to the city public safety operations on a weekly rotating basis. In the event there is a need to call in additional support for the IT staff members, the stipend will apply for accrual hours worked for the additional support. Now, since 2023, I worked from 2023 to 2025. If you go by June, by the calendar year, and didn't receive a dime. And on top of that, I was the only person that was actually on call. Now picture the fact that my wife comes to me and says, oh, I got tickets from Sally to go to a play in Manhattan. Oh dear, I can't go because I'm on call. But nobody else can fill in for me though. So I was at the mercy for 2 years. Now in the paper that I just gave Dan, there is also a Kevin Birdie sent a email for BoA requesting that there be a contract reading, and it stated, and labor turned around and said that, oh yes, the contract is valid, but it hasn't been signed, but it is in effect. So if it's in effect, why am I doing that by myself? 1. 2, I had to send an email in order to get it on a rotating basis, which the email I just gave to Dan which the email states, I will no longer be doing that in 2025. I will do it on a rotating basis, but you'll have to fill somebody in. But then they turn around and say, okay, we will give you $5 for each call. But that's not what is stated in the contract. But the city expects you to pay your taxes like a good employee, but live up to your bargain. That's all I'm asking. The Board of Alders ratified it. Labor said, no, that's not what that's not what it states right there. File the grievance has been upheld, been sitting for 2 years. I'm in limbo. June, the contract is up. I mean, if you look at it, do the math and see how much I'm owed by the city. If you ask anybody, I do my job. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony this evening. Thank you. One moment, please. Please come forward, Ms. Reeder, and after Linda Reeder is Dana Hollahan. Name and address to the record, please.
Linda Reeder, 96 Lion Street. Thank you for hearing my testimony. I'm speaking in support of the city funding the Office of Climate and Sustainability. In December 2020, Mayor Elicker appointed me to the New Haven Climate Emergency Task Force, and I'm still a member today. Like today, the task force was filled with committed, knowledgeable residents and city officials. We had a lot of ideas for improving the city's sustainability, and with it, the city's livability and residents' health and finances. What we didn't have on the original task force was anyone whose primary responsibility was the city's sustainability. I served on a subcommittee, and we met every 2 weeks, and we were focused on education. And while we did some good work, but it was challenging and sometimes frustrating or impossible to implement things we knew could improve the quality of life for New Haven residents as well as help the environment. We were just an assortment of citizens and staff who knew some stuff but lacked the authority or the time or the city know-how to get it done. And because of these frustrations coupled with other demands of my time, I stepped back from the task force, and then the Office of Climate and Sustainability received ARPA funding. Yay. And when Director Winter invited me to start participating on the task force again, I gladly accepted. I have been impressed with the accomplishments of the Office of Climate and Sustainability. While OCS has implemented task force ideas like a bicycle education program in the public schools, its scope and achievements are obviously far broader. When the Office of Climate and Sustainability facilitates changes that are positive for the environment, they are also improving residents' well-being. For example, improving our health by reducing air pollution, or reducing our expenses by promoting home energy efficiency programs. Supporting climate change reduction by funding the Office of Climate and Sustainability will have an impact far beyond its costs. This is indisputable even without OCS's track record of generating $34 million in grant funding for the city. So in closing, I think maintaining the funding in the mayor's budget for the Office of Climate and Sustainability is a fiscal no-brainer, and I hope you agree.
Thank you. Any questions for committee? Seeing none, have a good evening.
Thank you, Mayor.
Dana Hollahan. Yeah. Dana, who's coming forward, and then Jeremy Schulich after that.
Good evening, Dana Hollahan, 95 Anita Street. Dear members of the Finance Committee, I am here today in support of the New Haven Office of Climate and Sustainability. I ask that you continue to fund this office through the general fund once the ARPA funds run out at the end of 2026. As a lifelong environmentalist and master naturalist who has long served in leadership positions on the boards of 2 local organizations, focused on environmental stewardship and climate resilience. And as a resident and taxpayer in the city of New Haven, I feel strongly that investments in smart, innovative, community-focused initiatives that mitigate the current effects of climate warming and plan for future impacts are where I want the city to focus its resources. We need bold approaches and we need significant woman and manpower working on them now and in a sustained manner moving forward. Any interruption to the work and funding of OCS would be detrimental to our city's ability to build the climate resilience it needs now and into the future. Therefore, I strongly oppose any such interruption and believe that anyone thinking seriously about the city's future would agree with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions from committee members? Seeing none, have a good evening. I welcome Alder Wingate, who has joined us. So next is Jeremy Skulik and then Eric Fine. Start. 1 second, please. Let's make sure that's ready and you're all set. Name and address for the record, please.
Great, thank you. Jeremy Schulich at 87 Olive Street. Thank you, Chair Marchand, Vice Chair Punzo, and members of the Finance Committee. My name is Jeremy Schulich. I live in Worcester Square. I'm a member of the New Haven Climate Emergency Task Force and Deputy Director of the nonprofit Clean Transportation Communities of Southern Connecticut. I'm testifying in support of retaining the Office of Climate and Sustainability, or OCS, and the FY 26-27 General Fund budget. The New Haven Climate Emergency Resolution that was passed unanimously by the Board of Alders stipulates that New Haven commits to designate 0.1% of its annual budget to accelerate greenhouse gas emissions reduction. Mayor Ellerker's proposed funding for OCS only represents a fraction of that 0.1%, and I believe it would be the most important measure to take to honor this resolution. Given OCS's track record, the payoff to the city will be orders of magnitude greater than the expense. Retaining OCS, as it has been with ARPA funds, would cost the city approximately $250,000 a year, but the funding OCS has thus far garnered for New Haven totals over $34 million. Crucially, some of these awarded projects are set to run through the next few years and could be disrupted if OCS was discontinued midstream. For example, OCS won a $9.5 million EPA grant to power Union Station and a forthcoming mixed income development with geothermal energy that will lower residents' energy bills. Other examples of OCS's achievements include taking steps toward a citywide composting program, deploying over 50 EVs to the city's fleet, including the state's first electric trash truck, leading the development of over 3 megawatts of solar projects, and supporting bicycling education at New Haven Public Schools. Lastly, environmental leadership is especially important at the local level when federal leadership has retreated. Please don't let this vital institution fall away when it has just begun to set transformative projects for New Haven in motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from your committee members? Seeing none, have a good evening.
Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. Eric Fine, followed by Thomas Kilstrom.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Eric Fine. I live at 461 Central Ave in the Westville neighborhood. And my day job, I work for the Yale program on climate change communication. So we have some data that I think is good to give some perspective when taking decisions on what to do with the Office of Climate and Sustainability. We have both global, national, and local data for you. I just gave a sheet with data for the South Central Connecticut Planning Region, which is our area right here. So not just New Haven, but the surrounding area as well. What we know is that most people don't talk about climate change. But then when we ask folks, hey, do other people, are they worried about it? They think, well, they're not talking about it, so I'm worried about it, but no one else is, right? But then, and so we ask people, give us your best guesstimate. How many people think it's happening? Half, maybe, people guess. But then when we ask people, is it happening here in this area, 74%, oh, no, actually 78% of people in this region, they understand that global warming is happening. We ask them other questions too. They say 83% of folks say that global warming will harm future generations. It can be misleading if you maybe put a bike lane down Edgewood Ave and then get a bunch of complaints because people lost their parking. But you get a bunch of complaints, and that and the silence on climate change might mislead you to think that people don't care about this. But given these stats, they definitely do. They definitely will support continued funding of the Office of Climate and Sustainability. Thank you.
1 minute. Thank you very much. Questions from the community? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. You can give that to our staff.
He has it.
Oh.
Anyone else want it?
I'll take it. Thank you.
All right, so next is Thomas Kilstrom, followed by Iris Kaminsky. Good evening.
Greetings, Madam Sirs.
Name and address for the record.
My name is Thomas Kilstrom, 44 Russell Street, Fairhaven Heights. My purpose here is simply put accountability. Right, so I bear witness to Justin Elker yesterday at the budget over there at Regional Career High School. I was at a climate change table for now because I have more important things to talk about than your climate change. But so I was also bear witness to Ned Lamont at the Capitol in his budget. Right? So my initiative, simply put, is involved. Now, what I'm trying to do is run to the New Haven Police Citizens Academy. He was in there, that was a couple of years ago, hence my junior badge, if you will. And I support the police unequivocally, if you will. Now, what I'm trying to do is just get people involved. So I'm going to take my time here to tell you my initiative. Now, I have already been to the New Haven Police, the Waterbury Police, and the Capitol Police, making friends. There's many, many police officers. Now, I have gone up to the Capitol Police, and I looked them right in the eye, and I said, they said, what's your agenda? You. Now, what that means is I want people to like the place. I want people to go make friends with the place, especially the Capitol Police, because our presence now, let's pause, presence. I'm going to have you answer this, but simply put, presence, police presence, keep you safe. Our presence in these buildings here, our apologies, will apply pressure to people that choose to be deceptive to the American people, if you will. So my initiative is, well, first of all, if you can't get up in a house, if you don't know the people, you don't know the lingo, you don't know the jargon, I'm here to learn. But I've been doing this since 2020, so I have learned a lot. And my presence in the Capitol, I'm in these buildings and in these meetings, as everyone else should be, is going to speak volumes. And then, of course, the initiative to go up to the Capitol, make friends with the Capitol Police. What am I?
1 minute.
Because they hold the clipboards. They know everything in America to keep everyone safe. And they have served their country, and they have served the offices in other departments for some time. So what I want everyone to do is go be a visitor in our house. The chairperson of the Capitol, of the LOB, Legislation Office Building 20, it's the people's house. So my initiative is go be a visitor in our house until you actually can speak up. Don't speak up a thing until you know what you're doing. I mean, it's that simple. So don't protest. Protest don't work. Don't rally. They don't work inside the building. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Questions from committee members? Seeing none, have a good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see that Iris Kaminsky's come forward. After Ms. Kaminsky, we have Kathy Fay.
Hi.
Good evening.
Thank you, everybody, for this hearing. So my name is Iris Kaminsky. I live on 245 McKinley Avenue in New Haven, and I am the vice chair of the Environmental Advisory Council for the City of New Haven. I'm also a scientist, and I'm co-leading the Yale Superfund Research Center at the Yale School of Public Health. So I am here to support the city to continue and finance the city's Office of Climate and Sustainability. And I acknowledge their outstanding work that they did in the last 2-3 years. I just want to focus on one aspect of the work, is really reducing air pollution. At our Environmental Advisory Council a few weeks ago, we hosted Dr. Sandra Zay, a pulmonologist from Yale, and she talked about the connection between air pollution and asthma. And the outstanding rates of asthma in the city are unacceptable. It's for a city like New Haven, the city of Yale, it's unacceptable that we are above average and in asthma rates. And anything we could do to reduce air pollution, it will help everybody. It will make the city more livable. People want to live in a city where there's clean air, not dirty air. And that is why I would like you to continue and support this office.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from colleagues? Seeing none, have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next will be Kathy Fay, followed by Alice Kwok. Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Good evening, Finance Committee members and Chair. My name is Kathy Fay. I live at 61 Springside Avenue. Please don't drive by, it looks awful right now. I am no longer a member of the city's Environmental Advisory Council. My term limits have all expired. And I'm still happy to be involved in environmental issues and energy issues that impact residents of New Haven. Long before we had an Office of Climate and Sustainability, I was one of the people that really advocated for having such an office because it was hard to watch funding streams roll past us and not be able to be captured for the city of New Haven because there wasn't enough manpower, staff power to pursue those funding resources. And so I'm going to keep it short and sweet. We needed it. We got it. We went after funding. We got a lot of funding for a lot of really great projects. Some of that, we got $20 million for the community change grant that impacted us across the board in New Haven. And so there was even funding that we got that was taken away from us because of the change in the federal administration. But that's still, those still count as wins. And as these issues continue and are not going to go away, as there are changes in federal administration, we will have future opportunities to capture those funding streams. Right now, it's on us to work with ourselves and with the state to capture funding streams, but you're the Finance Committee, so think of this as a revenue producer for the city of New Haven.
1 minute.
I'm done.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there any questions from committee members? Seeing none, have a good evening.
Thank you.
So Alice Kwok, followed by Wengel Kiffel. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Name and address.
My name is Alice Kwok and I live at 831 Chapel Street. So right here. So good evening, everyone. My name is Alice Kwok and I'm a resident of New Haven. As a Yale School of Public Health graduate and someone who currently works in the field of climate and sustainability, specifically in clean energy and transportation policy, I'm here in my personal capacity today to urge you all to obtain the Office of Climate and Sustainability in the fiscal year 26 to 27 general fund budget. As mentioned by previous testifiers, the fiscal case is very straightforward, extremely cost effective at a cost of roughly $250,000 a year. OCS has secured over $34 million for the city. I'll also stress once again some of the accomplishments that OCS has achieved thus far. That includes a 9.5 million EPA grant, one of 3 awarded nationally, to power Union Station and 1,000 affordable housing units with carbon neutral geothermal energy. They've also deployed 50 EVs, the city fleet as previously mentioned, and developed over 3 megawatts of solar projects. So we need to see these projects through, and just continuing the efforts now with the millions in already awarded funding at risk, a waste the city simply can't afford. This is also an urgent public health issue. A cleaner environment means a healthier New Haven community, and the ALA, the American Lung Association, gave New Haven County a failing grade for ozone and particle pollution this year. Many of our neighborhoods rank in the 95th to 100th percentile nationwide for air pollution exposure, and it's our low-income communities who bear the brunt of all of these exposures. So experts estimate that Connecticut could avoid over 27,000 children's asthma attacks by 2050 through a shift to EVs and a clean grid, which is exactly what OCS is working towards right now. The Board of Alders unanimously passed a climate emergency resolution committing New Haven to fund this work, and there's a need to retain OCS as one of the most direct ways to honor this promise. The federal government has stepped back from environmental leadership, as we've recently seen, and that makes what happens in this room all the more important. Now is exactly the moment for cities like New Haven to step up, to protect our residents, honor our commitments, and show that local government can lead where others won't. So please retain OCS. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Questions from committee members? Seeing none.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Wengel Keifel, followed by Mary Woolsey. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Wengel Keifel, and my address is 55 Whaley Avenue. I moved to New Haven, Connecticut when I was 7 years old from Ethiopia, and I am so proud to call the city home. I delved into my studies when I attended East Rock Magnet School. I graduated as valedictorian, and I was pushed to go to boarding school because New Haven wasn't going to offer me the education that I deserved, and I attended career high school. And those were not my words, but I attended career high school for my freshman year, and then was pushed to go to boarding school. I went to Taft and Watertown, and I was made to feel ashamed about being a New Haven resident. To this day, I feel like my New Haven public school teachers were the best teachers I've ever had in my life. I'm so proud of them. I'm so thankful for them. And the reputation that New Haven has throughout Connecticut, throughout the country, is deplorable. I felt really, really saddened by the reputation that it had and how proud I was of my community and my teachers and my classmates. I was sad that I was the one that got to have better opportunities when there were so many bright kids around me, but our huge classroom sizes and the lack of resources for textbooks, after school programs, childcare, thank you. All of those things that were missing from our infrastructure in public schools made it so that so many other students couldn't have the opportunities I had after middle school and high school, and got to go to, I didn't get to go to, great universities afterwards, and just have the experiences I did after. And it was by accident that I returned to New Haven. I'm glad that I did. I work under Kathy Faye, she's amazing, and I work to improve energy sustainability, and definitely encourage us to sustain the Office of Climate and Sustainability for the wonderful work that they do, and to make New Haven a viable city for us in the future, not only environmentally, but also for our schools. Yale does need to pay its fair share, and we need to make New Haven someplace that our future youth can be proud to live in. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that it's an amazing place to live, and want to keep my kids here and in the future. And we owe it to New Haven and our residents to make this place a dignified city to live.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony and thank you for coming back to New Haven. We're glad to have you. Questions from committee members?
Thank you for being here.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, too.
Mary Woolsey, followed by someone whose name I cannot determine what it is, but they live at 300 and something Lighthouse Road. Gloria Bellachico will be after Mary Woolsey. Name and address for the record, please.
Mary Woolsey, I live at 4 St. Ronan Terrace in New Haven. Although I'm also chair of the New Haven Environmental Advisory Council, I'm here in my personal capacity. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. You need only look at today's headlines about the spiking of oil and gas prices to understand the importance of the work that the city's Office of Climate and Sustainability is doing to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. I urge you to support the inclusion of OCS funding in the city's general fund for fiscal year 2026-2027. OCS has an impressive record of achievements for its first few years, dedicating itself to developing a range of constructive projects to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve the health and well-being of city residents. OCS has improved energy efficiency and affordability for New Haven residents, reducing fossil fuel use and providing some protection at this moment from the costs of soaring fossil fuel prices. OCS is expanding solar and geothermal energy in the city, again reducing reliance on price volatile and highly polluting fossil fuels in favor of more stable and clean energy sources. The current federal administration continues to support geothermal projects while defunding and opposing other sources of clean energy. OCS has supported the electrification of city vehicles and equipment, reducing air pollution and potentially improving health outcomes in a city that rates very high, as we've heard, for asthma and other pollution-related diseases. The OCS staff has proved nimble in today's challenging funding environment, obtaining grant funding for its projects. Some of these grants run through 2028 and could be disrupted if OCS were to be terminated. With the collapse of federal support for climate and environmental projects, cities and states must take the initiative in the transition to cleaner and more affordable and reliable energy sources and in protecting public health. OCS has provided strong leadership on these issues in New Haven. I urge you to support the inclusion of OCS funding in the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, have a good evening. Gloria Bellachico. Is Gloria here?
Yeah, she is. She's coming.
Yes. And while Ms. Bellachico is coming forward, let me recognize our colleague Alder Frank Prudenti, who has joined us. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Gloria Bellachico, 300 Lighthouse Road. There's so many different stories tonight. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of at the right meeting, but then I'm not at the right meeting. Regarding finances in the city, our tax increase, followed by a mill rate increase in October. It's really becoming unaffordable. And if I'm having a hard time, I'm a retired state employee with no children living at home. I can't imagine how the families in New Haven are managing electric bills or water bill. I don't know if anybody heard that the water authority has something happened there. The electric companies don't want it. So our water bills are also going up. 68% is what they said on the news the other day. So you have water, electric, sewer, all this stuff going up. It's just unaffordable for the average citizens in New Haven. I'm struggling. I don't want to move out of New Haven. I live in a small house. My taxes were $2,300 in 2015, and now they're almost $5,000. With this expected increase, it's going to go to $7,000. My house is 837 square feet. I have the smallest lot in the area, and it's just, I don't know how you guys are gonna, I don't know. I guess I also didn't have anything prepared. And I'm not a very good public speaker, so
You're doing fine.
I could swear it too though. Sorry.
Another minute.
Another minute. I urge you to vote. I know the school system is short money, but the teachers just got a well-deserved raise. I'm really proud of that. But we really need to either, the mayor said at the
1
last,
minute.
he said that our taxes were going up 4.5%, but that since they got the Yale proposal, there's a possibility that they may only go up 2.5%, and that he presented that to the alders. Is that true?
So we will definitely be talking later in our proceedings about this potential agreement of this.
Because if we can cut the tax increase from 4.5 to 2.5, and then the mill rate when it goes up to 2027, it's not gonna hurt as bad. So that's it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. That is the list of folks who have signed up to testify, but if you have not signed up, you can still come forward. Is there a member of the public who wishes to come forward to testify on the mayor's proposed budget? Please do. And while this individual is coming forward, let me recognize Alder Sarah Miller, who has joined us. Good evening. Yes, please take a seat. And when you're settled, we'll love to have your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, hello. My name is Kimberly Smart. I'm a resident of New Haven, Connecticut, living at 1058 Townsend Avenue. I am an NHFT Local 933 special education teacher and a proud member of New Haven Rising. I might look familiar to you because I have been here before, giving testimony on the state of our schools, and here I am again. This time I'm here with a story of heartbreak, but let me give you some backstory first. I've always wanted to be a teacher and have my own classroom. Finally, in 2022, I had worked hard enough to earn one. I cannot even put into words how excited I was. At first, I was in a really small space. Eventually, this school year, I was given a big classroom to teach my students in. There were problems from the beginning. For example, I came back after summer break and I was opening boxes. I realized that most plushies, soft items, and textiles had black mold all over them. Most things could not be saved. Things I bought with my own money, especially for my students. There were more instances. Teacher 101, have do now ready at the beginning of class. During do now time, when it was quiet, the class noticed that little squeaks and scrapes were coming from the walls. I quickly realized that the little squeaks and scrapes were a colony of mice that eventually started coming out of the walls to come find what I assumed is food. They started eating paper and leaving droppings all over the classrooms. During the winter, my classroom was so cold that the tips of my fingers were turning blue and the students had to wear coats in order to be warm and concentrate. The bathrooms for the teachers were constantly in need of repair. One teacher bathroom had been out of service since I started working there. The students' bathrooms don't always have doors. They routinely do not have toilet paper or paper towels to dry their hands or soap to wash with. Exit signs, soap dispensers, and decorations were pulled down and not replaced. People would get stuck in the elevator routine.
1 minute.
Oops. Now here's the heartbreak part. After the storm in January, that Monday morning, teachers came back to their classrooms. When they opened their doors, they saw that the ceiling tiles had fallen down. On the second floor, most classes were totally destroyed. One teacher had to start completely over. And then came the damage on the first floor. I immediately burst into tears. The whole left side of my classroom was a complete loss. Midday, what can only be described as a waterfall came down in the doorway of the foyer, so we can no longer use that as well.
So we'll just need you to wrap up your comments.
Sorry?
We'll just need you to wrap up your comments.
Okay. Things would have gone differently if our schools were fully funded. If schools were fully funded, teachers with already large classes would not have to deal with 27 students per class, only 20 desks. With fully funded schools, the buildings would not be in such disrepair. There would be enough updated technology for both staff and students, allowing students to be more technologically competitive with other school districts with a fully funded school. We struggle year after year with one of the wealthiest institutions in the US, Yale, right down the street, who refuses to pay their fair share. We have the ECS bill that would raise the amount spent on each student which needs to pass.
So that's the end of your time.
Okay.
But thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Before you leave, any questions from committee members? I see two. Alder Furlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And although we don't typically ask, if you are at liberty to, I would like to know the name of that school. If you're at liberty to. If you're not at liberty to say the name of the school, then that's fine.
I don't think it's necessarily having to do with the school because a lot of schools in New Haven are going through the same thing, not just mine. It's not.
Fair
not
enough.
just mine.
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony this evening. Okay, so yes, and our staff person would like to get your name and address. Anyone else from the public wishing to testify this evening on the mayor's proposed budget? Is there another member of the public wishing to testify this evening on the mayor's proposed budget for next fiscal year? And for a third time, is there a member of the public wishing to testify on this topic? So that concludes the public hearing for this evening. It will resume on the 31st of March, so no motion is needed at this time. We will now proceed with the departmental workshops, but first we're going to take a 5-minute comfort break because I suspect that some number of people are going to leave, and we'll give you a moment to do that. If you're leaving, please leave quickly so that in 5 minutes we can resume with our meeting. So we'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you, everyone.
No water at all? No. We tried. But a little bit of him was cold, but right now. Trying to get out of that, but she's not the walking. I know, I realize that. Yeah. So I'm not gonna press it. Well, so the police department are not doing their workshops tonight. So oftentimes the mayor will ask if they have to come to the workshops. But then if they're not going that evening, we'll have to
I just like it.
Uh-huh.
I just don't know. How you doing though?
Good.
Don't stop. There's always something. Always
Cold. Or I'm cold. Yeah, okay, because I'm cold. That's why I'm like, I need some more hot water before I get started.
I'm going. How's everything?
How you doing? I was not calling. Okay.
We need to have a conversation. I'm a cell phone.
I don't think I did that before.
I'm here at London's in my room. Yeah, you know, I have no problem anybody reaching out to the board. 43 753 6639.
It's still on.
I saw the badge. I saw the badge. Well, good to see you. I was out of work, so you should have pretty much rough.
All right, folks, we're going to start up in just a few seconds. So if you're staying, wonderful. Please take a seat. If you're not staying for the workshop portion of this meeting, we invite you to please leave the chambers. Thank you. This meeting is back in session. I would invite everyone who's remaining for the rest of this meeting, please to take a seat. I'd invite everyone who's staying for the meeting, please to take a seat. If you have to leave, I would invite you, please, to do so now. The next portion of the meeting will feature a list of departments which will give their departmental budget workshops, starting with the city town clerk, then the mayor's office, then the registrar of voters, fair rent commission, assessor's office, Department of Finance, the Office of Policy and Grants, I think there's a word management that should be in there, Corporation Council, and Board of Alders. So that's 9 departmental workshops. And so we're going to make our way through those as efficiently as we can. I would invite colleagues, if you haven't picked up your binder, the binders are in the box next to where Alder Rodriguez usually sits for full board meetings. It's a different format than in years past. Hold on. It's a different format than years past. So we'll talk more in a future time about the new format of the budget book. There's the information in the binder looks different than it has in years past. So, I invite you at another time to look through those materials, to get familiar with how they're structured, to get familiar with where you need to go to look for certain information. So I invite colleagues to do that. But for tonight, as always, Dawn Hayden, our fiscal analyst, very helpfully put together a packet which includes summary information for each department that's going to give a workshop this evening. And so if you want the quick and dirty place to look for information, it's in your packet that Dawn did for us tonight. Okay. So let's hear from the City Town Clerk's office.
Good evening, Honorable Alderman.
Good evening.
It's great to see you.
You're welcome to come forward, Director of Management and Budget, if you wish.
Well, I brought presentations, so I wanted to make sure, because it might be easier.
There you go.
To hand these out.
So before you begin, Honorable City Clerk, let's get the paper passed out, and then we'll begin. So is this a deck with information for all of the departments this
Yes.
evening?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, so let's take a moment to get those papers passed out. I'm glad to see that the pages are numbered. Colleagues will know that that's a thing with me. I like numbers on the pages. Okay, are we all set? Okay.
Michael Smart,
Thank you.
9th Street.
Michelle E. Rodriguez, 33 Clay Street.
Shannon McHugh, 925 Arnold Road, Waterhead.
Okay, we're all ears.
So, first of all, thank you all
Maybe just move that mic a little bit closer.
that you continue to do and you do all the time and you do a great job at it. Our office is obviously the record, we take custody of documents for the city. You come in, record mortgages, your liens, your claims, check land records, your dog licenses. We do the complication for the Board of Alders. Certainly, any property descriptions that you want to look up, records go back to the 1600s, so you can check that. Meeting notices that are filed, meeting minutes, if they're brought into our office, we take custody of those documents there. We interact with every department in the city, so we stay busy. That's one part of our base, and the other part, we're a staff of 6. Then we have interns too. The other part, which is very important, and we expect this year, is our absentee for the election, our ballots that we're working on. We expect it to be a very, very busy primary and election season. We're preparing for that. Any initiatives at the state, we have a couple of new programs coming out. One of them is making sure that all documents in state federal law are translated in Spanish. So we're working to make sure that's something that has to be sent to the state approved. We take care of that. And then we have an assistant city clerk that makes sure that we're in compliance with that. We're also still working on our deed logs, making sure that folks know that they can register their property address as homeowners in the system, on our QS system. And if someone tries anything with their deed, they'll be notified by email to check that out there. Absentees, I think one of the biggest changes too. It's 90 days before the election you can come in and pick up applications for absentees. That's something that's new. And if it's over 5, they have to be signed out by the person that's actually taking them out. So when they come back in, they bring the list in with the folks that are requesting absentees. So staff development is ongoing. Our deputy clerk, May Gardner, who we love, we're the rookies, so she sent us to handle the business tonight. So she's been with us 30 plus years. So we certainly lean on her for the knowledge that she has. Michelle's coming on 2 years with us as assistant clerk, working on staff development, learning through May, certainly interacting with the alders, interacting with the co-chairs and city staff and the administration. So we're going to continue to focus on our department, the needs, the requests, and customer service. With that, any questions you have for me, I'm more than happy to answer. Oh, and we have our status quo budget, so we don't have an issue with the budget. Our budget is status quo. I don't see any issues as far as any additional needs at this point.
Thank you very much for that presentation. We're grateful. Anything you wish to add?
No, it is
With the director?
status quo, zeros across the board.
Thank you very much. So we'll now take questions from committee members, and I'll just remind committee members that tonight we were doing a budget workshop with the city town clerk and with 8 other departments. We're not doing a general, hey, what does your department do workshop. So if you want to learn about the operations of the department, we can always schedule a workshop on that. But your questions, please, should be budget related, because that's what's before us this evening. Questions from committee members? Questions from committee members? Questions from committee members? Seeing none, we thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thank you. See you again.
Very good work. Thank you.
Next on the list is the mayor's office. Get another chair when we move on. Well, we'll get a, make sure we get another chair.
I'll get a chair.
Yeah. It's okay. So no additional papers. It's already in here. Just turn to the next page.
Turn to the next page.
What page number? Page 6?
Page 6.
Wonderful. Names and addresses for the record, please.
Stephen Winter, 459 Gatesville Avenue, Executive Director of Climate Sustainability.
Hannah Zachary, Sustainability Policy Analyst and Engagement Coordinator, 431 Richmond Road, Downtown.
Sean Madison, 1279 Quinnipiac Avenue, in the Mighty 12th Ward.
Okay, let's hear about the mayor's office.
Thank you very much.
Why don't you, let's bring that over so you're not cranking your neck around just to talk to us. There we go.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate this. Office of the Mayor, we largely enforce ordinances, execute contracts, enforce contracts. Our job is to advocate for and push for legislation at the local, state, and federal level. This year's budget is not a significant change from last year's budget. I will take a moment to point out some of the things that have changed from the previous year's budget. The biggest thing I can tell you to pay attention to is the increase in the salary line. It's a little over 1.5. And largely that's the request here to move 2 positions from ARPA into general fund. Those 2 positions come out of the Office of Climate and Sustainability, which is housed underneath the Office of the Mayor. So we all know ARPA is ending at the end of the calendar year. And I think that Steve and Hannah Zoe have done some amazing work in the short time that they've been with the city. I think we would very much like to continue some of that work. Done here, I'll turn it over to Steve and he can entertain you with some of the things they've done and what they're working on. Largely other than that, most everything else in the budget is going to be status quo. I will say that tonight, the Director of Labor Relations, Wendella, will not be able to be present. She had called away for a family emergency. I do apologize for that. And you all will want to hear from her and talk to her about the ongoing labor contracts and about her office and any use of outside counsel. As it is right now, it's a one-person show up in that office. So I'm happy at this time to, I'll turn it over to Steve and let Steve talk to you a little bit about the Office of Climate Sustainability.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Alder Chair Marchand, Vice Chair Punzo, members of the Finance Committee. Thank you for having us before you this evening. We distributed a one-pager that summarizes at a very high level some of the work that's ongoing at our department. We're, as Sean said, we're an extension of the mayor's office, and I think that's been a really successful model for activating projects both within the city and its associated agencies. Housing Authority, Parking Authority, the Solid Waste Authority are all city agencies that we've worked closely with to accomplish these projects, as well as with community organizations. We partnered with Neighborhood Housing Services, some of whose representatives testified earlier, Community Action Agency and Generation Power Connecticut, formerly Operation Fuel, to help with outreach to the community, as well as New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation, who's our partner with the public schools on the bicycle education program that came up earlier. But at a high level, we're really focused on developing clean energy that helps with air quality. It also helps improve the fiscal health of the city. So the 3 projects that have been that are active now are generating over $130,000 in revenue and savings for the city. That includes the first phase of the landfill lease, which is bringing in $72,000 annually. We have 6 solar projects in development, which are all structured as leases. And if we're able to move forward with all those, that would be another $200,000 annually of lease payments. We're working, as I mentioned, with other city departments, particularly engineering, the public schools and parks, on efficiency projects. So we have almost $1 million worth of LED lighting retrofits we're working on with the public schools. We're just starting investment grade audits with the schools as well as with the parks. So we're looking forward to the energy efficiencies that'll come with that. I mentioned some of the outreach partners, but we've been able to help residents, 450 households with energy efficiency assessments, and dozens of those have gotten insulation, new heating and cooling systems, and other improvements. And then a key piece of the work is around environmental justice, air quality, reducing emissions that affect asthma and respiratory health. The flip side of that, of course, is the vehicle electrification that's been mentioned so far and reducing city emissions. The last couple of things I'd want to touch on are partnerships with TTMP. So we've helped launch the microtransit and scooter programs. And then the work that we're doing with materials management, we've helped support the operations director at Havens Harvest with federal funding. So we're really trying to feed our hungry residents with diverting usable food. And in the schools, we've helped institutionalize a share table policy so that uneaten food at lunchtime goes to hungry children. And those schools include 9 schools that are now doing food scrap to compost. And the last thing there is we're working on 2 deep grants to set up a compost co-collection program for households served by city trash recycling. And then I just want to say, having Hannah Zoe on the team and having somebody in a role to liaise with the community and help work with city departments, all the financial back end and grant reporting has been hugely helpful. And really is a force multiplier. We're getting multiple times done work as we would if it was just one person in this role. So I want to give you a moment to tell folks about what you're doing.
Hello and good evening. Thank you for having us here. Again, my name is Hannah Zoe. I know that you guys are very busy and we appreciate your time, so I've distilled my value add into kind of 4 major points to the office. Steve and I collaborate very closely on every point that he just mentioned, and it's really been an honor to work for the city. In my position, I focus a lot on talking with the community and working with various community organizations, such as the one Steve mentioned, like Junta, Community Action Agency, and many of the really valued partners and the partnerships that we've been able to build as the city. I also represent the city to the community, going to CMT meetings and other events, working with community organizations, as well as representing the city to both the federal and state level governments, and coming to Board of Alders meetings like this. It's also really crucial that we manage our interdepartmental coordination and initiatives. So our office's work and sustainability work touches every facet of life and every department of the city. And so I do a lot of work to maintain those relationships and make sure that we actually have the manpower and the ability to follow through, and work with other departments. As well, we are managing millions of dollars of grant funding, and all of that grant funding has reporting and compliance elements to it. I manage a lot of the reporting elements and compliance elements. Some of them are highly technical, involving, emissions modeling and other financial modeling capabilities and stuff like that. I really value the opportunity to contribute to the city, and I really hope to continue that work.
The last thing I'll say, because we're focusing on a lot of the technical things, is one of the families we've been able to help with the energy efficiency program had 5 children and recently gave birth to a newborn baby, and they were in a no heat situation. So we're able to help them with installation of a new heating system. The bike education programs come up several times. We have 100 bikes that are in shipping containers going from school to school. We have 2 containers, and we're working on getting a third. If we get a third, we'll be able to provide bike education, basic education to every 2nd grade student in our school system. And then the food rescue I mentioned with Haven's Harvest, supporting them, they've been able to rescue over 3 million pounds of food in the last year. So we're focused on, some of these big picture issues around pollution, but we're also focused on serving residents with the really critical challenges that they face day to day.
And I'd just like to say, this is a very community-forward position. When people call for help with the city and with sustainability questions and with questions about, how do I afford my heat? How can you help us? We're the ones who pick up the phone. We're the ones who pick up the phone and try to find resources that we have and that we've developed or liaise with other city departments to try and help individuals and the community as a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chief of Staff, or you, Madam Director of Management and Budget.
I think that we have covered most.
Happy to answer questions you want me to have.
Were there pay raises involved in the mayor's proposed budget? Could you say a word about that?
We did, as we're trying to, again, retain as well as attract on positions that have to be filled. There was 3% for executive in competition.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. Any further updates or information you would like us to have? Seeing none, we'll go right into questions from members of the committee. I see Alderman Moore is on the queue. And the queue will be open after that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it looks like Director Winter, your office has brought millions of dollars in grant funding to the city to work on developing clean energy and enhance, energy efficiency and work on environmental justice initiatives. If these positions are funded by the city, do you anticipate that you'll continue to pursue additional grant funding for similar work?
That's a great question. I think that having the continuity here, of course, we want to continue managing the projects that we have, but we're definitely looking for additional grant opportunities. Given the change at the federal level, we've been more focused on state opportunities recently, but we've had a lot of success with that. So the 2 materials management grants, that's about $6 million in funding, as well as we have about $500,000 in funding for park remediation, so brownfield to park on Gibbs Street along the Farmington Canal Line. So all of that is state administered funding, but we are eager to look for funds at the federal level. And as somebody mentioned earlier, we're working on this big geothermal project, and this is the one thing that the Trump administration, drill baby drill, they're really into geothermal. So we're definitely eager to continue bringing in funds. The high level numbers here of the 16.5 million in active projects in grant funding, that does not include the 21 million in funds that are currently in litigation, the environmental justice grants. And then I think beyond that, we want to look for places where we can provide revenue like solar or potentially electric vehicle charging. And then on the environmental justice side, there are 3 Title V permits, which are the really big sources of pollution around the port, so the oil facilities. But we're actively involved with city plan and economic development, trying to secure the best possible community benefits agreements that we can to mitigate that pollution and provide services to residents. So a lot of modeling that goes into that, air quality modeling that Hannah Zoe has led.
Thank you, Director Winter. I have one more question. On the flip side of that, if these positions are not funded, does it put existing grant funding at risk?
I think it would be very challenging, particularly for the geothermal project, to transition other staff. I know that our team members in engineering and economic development are very resourceful, but like I mentioned, some of the continuity would be very difficult. And because of the change at the federal level, these projects have very rigid timelines. It's not like it used to be where you could go to EPA and say, hey, we need another year, or we need to do things differently. You really have to follow the work plan to a T. And then, like I was saying, with the environmental justice work, there's a lot of complicated emissions modeling that having somebody specialized like Hannah Zoe on staff is really critical to doing in order to meet requirements for a grant like that. So I think it would be very challenging to follow through on that project in particular.
Well, I want to commend you for helping keep the city cleaner and greener so far, and thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Moore. Next on the queue is Alder Festa, and then after that, the queue is open.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for your presentation. You all come before CSAP for approval for applying and agreeing to these grants. It was mentioned that you have $34 million that have come in grant funding. Out of that, how much of it was federal funding?
So that's a good question. So I think we have about 6.5 in state funds. So those materials management grants would also be challenging, I think, for other city staff to take on. And then, at the federal level, we have the 21 that are frozen, and then another 10. So that's about 31 in federal funds.
That's million, right?
Million, yes. And then we've also received some grants from United Illuminating for energy efficiency outreach. That's about 100,000. And then beyond that, we are in the process of getting about $500,000 in electric vehicle rebates from the federal government. So we've been leading the process, working with an accounting firm to claim those rebates and grant incentives from the IRS and the Department of Energy.
So with 21 million frozen from the federal government, do we know or anticipate when a decision will be made?
I wish I could give you a good answer on that. Our court case went to the district court, to the appellate court, now it's back in the district court. And the question before the court is whether the Trump administration can unilaterally cancel entire grant programs that were authorized by Congress, which is what they did for those 2 environmental justice grant programs. They said that these were diversity, equity, and inclusion grant programs that were trying to help low-income people and Black and brown communities, and they canceled them wholesale. So I would not be surprised if that proceeds from the district to the appellate to the Supreme Court.
Well, we felt pretty good about the legal fight there on that, but no timeline.
Okay. I mean, the reason I ask this is because it seems like a lot of grants come from the federal government, and the state gave what, $6.5 million?
Mm-hmm.
how much more is out there other than on the state level, even through private companies such as UI, that we could take advantage of? And I know your department has done actually a really good job in finding grants, but yeah, what else is there?
Yeah, I think there will be additional state level grants, particularly around materials management. The solar programs, those are all ultimately authorized by the state and administered by the utilities. So those don't depend on grant funding. And I think we'll have a lot more success with solar parking camp fees, as well as the second phase of solar development on the landfill. So those are all clean energy revenue generating projects that benefit the city and the electric grid. And then I think there are some other opportunities around electric vehicle charging that could both provide services to residents, but also could generate revenue for the city.
And I necessarily wouldn't count out, any other potential future federal grants around. It's hard to predict the political calculus on. So the geothermal is it's an idea that's very popular in red states. So it's survived a lot. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, geothermal is really big there. So I think that's going to continue in those. So it's hard to say exactly in the future what federal grants will be available, but I wouldn't let them off the hook. I do think there will be some.
There may be additional USDA grants as well. So that's another thing that, agriculture industry in the middle of the country is very powerful. And, City Seed recently got an additional farmers market grant. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were additional grants around food scrap diversion, composting, local agriculture that we could potentially look at going after.
Thank you for that. Mr. Chair, I just have one additional question. It's actually for the mayor's office regarding, it is the other contractual services line item 56694. Just wondering it's almost like some of these need line items underneath them too.
No,
you could just touch on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to touch on it, pat on it, hit on it. It's our outside lobbyists in Washington who, Williams and Jennings, who returns a lot of dollars federal back to the city.
So that line item is just for that?
I think there's like something else maybe small in there, but I don't recall. I mean, because that's like a $99,000 contract for Williams and Jennings.
Okay, so the 99,000 is for the lobbyist, but then it's a total of 225,924. If I'm looking at.
I just have 100.
Oh, wait, sorry, 200,000.
Oh, that's for, labor relations.
Yeah.
That's for outside council.
Oh, okay. So the 90 is for lobbyists and the remainder is for outside
council.
Though, isn't it more than that?
Well, so on the presentation, you can see there's 100,000 under the mayor's office for other contractual services, which is mainly the lobby that Sean has just described. And then if you look at labor relations, there's $200,000 under legal and lawyer fees, and then there's 55,000 under other contractual services. So those, the lawyer fees are for outside counsel, other contractual, I believe it's for subscriptions, for, some legal services, that sort of thing. So that's most of the other contractual services.
Okay, thank you. I was actually looking at the budget book versus.
And also as a note for our Washington communicator, this is the same rate we paid since I've been doing this job for a while, so we get a great value from it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Festa. Next on the queue is Alder Farrell.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll talk loud. It's not working. Thank you for your presentation. I'll be quick. I was with you at one of the solar things. I think I was there. I dreamed about it. So the annual savings. So do we own the solar panels, is that city-owned or is that leased?
That's an excellent question. So in all the projects we're working on, the solar arrays are owned and maintained by a third party. In this case, it's Green Skies, who's the city solar contractor. The two parking canopies that were completed are power purchase agreements. So the city buys power at a flat rate for 20 years. And we're already, those arrays are active, we're already saving money. The estimate with the current rates, which have gone up dramatically since we signed that agreement, are that we'll save $65,000 at those two schools. At the landfill, it's essentially a lease. So the city is the landlord and the tenant pays rent. And the tenant happens to be a solar array. So the solar company is selling electricity to UI and they're using some of the proceeds to pay the city rent payments. Going forward, any new, due to changes in the state's solar incentive structure, any new parking canopies, like at school lots or park lots, and then the additional project at the landfill, which is not included in this $200,000 estimate. That's just the parking canopies. Those would all be structured as leases. So the benefit, one of the benefits for the city is that we'll know exactly what we're getting. So for the next 20 years, we know we're getting $72,000 from the first phase of the landfill. My hope is that we can get even more from the second phase of the landfill on top of the $200,000 from the parking canopies.
Thank you for jogging my memory. When you called the name of the company, I remember that now because it came before us in committee, as does 1,500 other items. So this revenue savings, we haven't quite hit these numbers yet annually.
No, we started getting, we get a monthly check of $6,000 for the landfill that began in August. So we know we're going to get $72,000 in the first year. The parking canopies just began producing energy, I believe, at the end of January. A little snowy, but I think we're going to see a lot of energy production in the spring and summer. So that estimate is based on the difference between the rate we're paying Green Skies and the rate of electricity, and then an estimate of how much sunlight we'll get.
You read my mind. Great. And just one other question for Director Winter and then one for Chief of Staff. So this, working with the New Haven Public Schools, $900,000, is this across the whole district for the LED lighting? I bet we'll save a lot of money if they turn their lights off at nighttime.
No, I mean, that is definitely something for us to look at. The state of Connecticut's adopted this lights out policy for all state buildings. That's something I think we would do well to look at for the public school buildings.
We should send them a memo. Great, thank you. Just one other question for our Chief of Staff. The increase in salaries, it does not include an increase for the mayor?
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Farrell. Further questions from colleagues? Alder Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It sounds like you're trying to build a solid office of climate and change sustainability. And through these many grants that you've received, and I know for a fact you've done a number of educational programs with our community. My question stems around how many individuals do you have working right now through these grants and through this seed money, through research? How many individuals do you have engaged already? And of those individuals, maybe they're being paid through special funds, do you anticipate that in the near future, you're going to need them to move into our general fund because of the strength that this office is going to be to the city at large, based on the goals and objectives of your office? Thank you.
So, for the time being, we see ourselves continuing to be a 2.5 person office, the other half being Rose Ricky, our recycling educator. who is paid out of the miniature liquor bottle or NIPS bottle funds. But like many other city departments, we do a lot of work in partnership with organizations in the community and outside organizations like Green Skies, the solar contractor, or VO, the electric scooter company. You know, I think they have maybe 8 or 9 employees, most of whom are in New Haven, but they're not within the general fund. So similarly with the geothermal project, we're working with engineering, but we're also working with an outside engineering firm. I think with the materials management grant, we're going to have a large outreach team and are really going to be looking to hire New Haven residents for the outreach and education around the color-coded bag program, for food scrap collection and refuse collection. But it's likely that most of that funding will be with a third party that does the education and engagement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Rodriguez. Further questions from colleagues for the mayor's office? Any further questions for the mayor's office? Seeing none, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
And we'll now move to the registrar of voters office.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Names and addresses for the record, please.
Okay. Lisa Mylone, 21 Anthony Drive, New Haven.
Shanna Evans, 1460 Glasgow. So, try to keep it to 3 minutes of the people who assess time.
We'll give you more than 3 minutes. We'll be grateful of it, but that's all it is.
Okay.
And what page are we on, Director of Management and Budget?
9.
9. Thank you.
So I'm not going to tell you what our office does. I want to start from page 10. Our line item, 50,000, moved to our other contractuals, so we'll still be using 50,000, just moved to a different line. We did ask for an increase for our hardworking staff. And the registration dues and subscriptions has decreased. It's really about it. We did not go crazy. Again, this is a gubernatorial fiscal year. So that means we have more polling places, more staffing, and then there's also room for special elections as well. That's it.
I would just say the change is mostly organizational more than anything else, right? Yep, so for moving the $50,000 from the one org code down to the other one for printing and binding. It was just they just didn't need as much under contractual services, so they moved it down to printing and binding. I'm sorry, it was the other way around. Excuse me, I said that backwards. So it was really organizational. And then there was the increase. So there's a proposed increase throughout for a 3% executive management salary increase.
3% for all employees covered under that manual.
Under executive management.
Under executive management. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think the main part of our budget is primarily because we are under Secretary of State and the state statutes, and now we have to run the elections and the timeline for the early voting and the work we can do with our legislators to try to reduce that is an uphill battle. But at the end of the day, that's, it's all statutory requirement. We can't change that.
So a portion of that other contractual is to pay for people to work in the polls for
That's
the
what we
extended
list.
early voting period as opposed to just election day.
Right, right. That's our biggest part of the budget is our payroll.
Understood. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere because there may be questions from colleagues, questions from committee members for the Registrar of Voters Office. Alder Festa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for explaining some of these. What is what is the other funding for contractual services? Because here we have it listed as 450,000. You mentioned that there are worker salaries included in that for the polls, is that, or did I misunderstand that?
So last fiscal year was more the, I'm sorry, choose my word. It was mayoral, local. So we kind of kept that budget and then some. So the 50,000 comes from the printing into it. So we didn't go down, we just kind of kept it as is.
And what's included in that line item?
A lot of things. I'm sorry. And there's, I don't have the actual line item itself for the summaries, but that's payroll, that is do we do mileage, any reimbursements, what is it called? Yeah. Okay, sorry.
I'm trying to look up your 106 form where it has all the explanation. I don't have it.
So that's other contractuals, kind of like an open, it's
Like any
a
kind
lot
of contract, yeah.
Yes.
Any contractual services, a lot of the items she mentioned, like travel and mileage and things of that nature. Anything that, the staff isn't doing, that's done via contract is in there, and I could get you a more specific, I just have to look it up, I don't have it in my memory. And then all the part-time, I misspoke a moment ago, the part-time salaries are down below, that's the $515,000. And I could get you more details about the contractual services if you like.
And that's fine, it could, Mr. Chair, even if it comes through you.
So noted.
Time
Okay.
savings.
I think that may be a theme
Yeah.
that's beginning to develop other contractual services.
Or
One of the
many.
things, the forms we used to get, the 106s, had some narrative content that told us more about what other contractual services typically paid for. And and that's not in the forms in our binders. And so I think it's good to come ready to talk more about that.
Sure.
Continue, Alder Festa.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we had a special election, and you said special elections are included in this budget.
Correct.
Is it up to a certain amount of special elections, or?
Honestly, no.
Wiggle
it's-
room?
Hopefully. But to the best of my knowledge, at least I know we won't have a DTC next fiscal year. So that saves for one. I believe the max over the past couple of years has been 2, and so far it's been pretty good.
Consistent with that.
But I don't believe we went over budget.
Okay, so we've been okay with even the special election that happened most recently.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Festa. Further questions from colleagues for the Registrar of Voters Office? I see a quizzical look on the face of Alder Furlong. You're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that the office, there's a Democratic registrar and a Republican registrar, but it makes up one office.
Correct.
I'd like to hear from the Republican registrar, if we might, on anything that the Republicans may be doing that affects this budget.
So honestly, the registrars of voters, there are 2 registrars, but we are equal and we are nonpartisan in the office. The office is the only nonpartisan entity that exists because we are not in the office as Republicans or Democrats. So everything we do is across the board. If we need poll workers, basically the theory is that she will hire half the staff, I will hire half the staff. If we do a special election, she hires half the staff, I hire half the staff. So we both carry the same duties, we just split as far as when we're hiring people, how the work is gonna be distributed throughout the office. It works best because everything's gotta be divided. You know, I will say that in the past, I think I don't wanna misspeak or say anything. I think it was kind of, presented as there's 2 sides. and what does this side do, or what does that side do? And that's not the reality. The reality is that we are both registrars, we run a nonpartisan office.
But that would be for general
For state
elections.
statute.
Right, so
No, for everything, for everything.
you do hiring also for a Democratic primary?
I don't, but if it was a Democratic primary or Democratic, like the town committee, the Republican registrar has to be, the urn has to be visible. Like per state statute, it's registrar's office, there are 2 registrars. And it doesn't specify that there's a primary, so a registrar. The state statute requires registrars, plural.
Okay, so I guess my question was more like, or is, the hiring that you would do, the half of the hiring is for the general elections?
For general, for primaries, because a primary would be 2 parties. Right? We have no. So Chanel will hire the people for the Democratic primary.
Okay.
I will just have to be present to be part of it. But for all of the other elections, yes, we split the hiring.
Okay, and then should there be an act of God in this city, as a Republican primary, then that would be your responsibility to do that kind of hiring. And so broadly, my question is that reflected in this number?
Yes, I believe this number should cover the year.
Okay.
Looking at what we've had and historically, it looks like it should be.
Great, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder. Further questions from colleagues? For the Registrar of Voters Office, I see Alder Festa wants a second bite of the apple. I would see if anybody still has the hunger for a first bite. So one moment, Alder Festa.
Actually, Mr. Chair, thank you, but it's a point of clarification because I'm looking at the budget book in reference to the page for the office, and then I'm looking at what we were given, and I think I'm looking at the right thing, Registrar of Voters. It just seems like the numbers aren't correlating.
I cut and pasted. It should be exactly.
Can you give an example?
So I'm on page
like
10,
like
and I'm
the budget number, the line item number?
yes. So I'm on page 10. If you look at what I was questioning, other contractual services, which has 1162127 and then the 56694. If I look at page 2-50 in the budget book and look at the Registrar of Voters, other contractual services has 11631010. The 56694 number is correct.
Mm-hmm.
The other number is not, but the sums are different. The amount is different.
Mm-hmm.
So just point of clarification.
Sure. Well, let's give our Director of Management and Budget a moment to look into that.
The register, I see 381, 15, I see the same, 415. Are you looking, so it starts here, and this is the total down here, the Register of Voters. And so I literally, the reason why this looks different this year is because we used Munis. We didn't want to have all those issues with formula errors or anything like that. So when we got the budget finalized, our plan was to import it all into Munis, and then everything comes from Munis, so we wouldn't have typos. So it does look different, and it starts at the top, and the name and the total is at the bottom in this light blue. So if you add up all of these, that should be what's on here. I think maybe the way it's set up could be confusing, because this is not, it says Register of Voters, and maybe you're looking down, it's actually up.
Okay, so there's a couple of 56695 numbers.
Right.
Okay, that helps. Because what we have in front of us that was given to us this evening has the total of all of those.
Right.
Okay.
And we did this for operational efficiency, and I can tell that, there's some, maybe we can talk through this and figure out if there's a way that it presents better. But it was really for operational efficiency. and to utilize Munis so that we wouldn't have those issues that we had last year for formulas. But I do have the answer to what's in the other contractual, if you'd like.
Yeah.
Now's the time to give it, please.
Thank you.
Okay, it is essentially for, the mandate is that there's annual canvassing, and so, they have to contact every elector. And then there's items, I'm sorry, my eyes are not so great. Let me make it bigger. The other items needed by register of voters include advertisement, general register of voters includes travel to convalescent homes and other, let's see, convalescent. I have it here.
So it sounds like field work.
Yes.
Reading, sorry.
I had an extra pair of reading glasses.
Including, I think I wore this last year. Included advertising materials, supplies, repairs, maintenance. And then there was the travel to convalescent homes, hospitals, elderly homes, factories, high schools, and special voting sessions. So there's also printing register was required to visit all polling locations on elections day. So that's what some of that, the mileage is all about. Also included in the account is money needed to attend conferences, workshops, and meetings called by the Secretary of State for registration of voters, and for machine examiners. And then the state no longer pays for voting machine maintenance, so the account will also be used for the maintenance of those repairs, supplies, and the maintenance agreements.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Festa. And thank you for persisting and looking up the information.
Sorry, I couldn't read it.
Further questions from colleagues for our registrar of voters office? Alder Hamilton.
Thank you, Chair Mark Don. I don't need it. Under that, other contractual line, you're saying those tabulator machines, repairs and all that will come out of that line as well? Because those things are notoriously never working.
We have new ones. We have new ones.
You have new ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the new ones are new now and if anything, so repair costs, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I remember in the past, the problems we've had with especially tabulator machines. So when I hear, that other contractual line accommodating so many things, it makes me concerned as to, will it be enough to cover everything?
Understood. Yes.
Thank you, Chair Marshall.
Thank you, Alder Hamilton, for bringing back quite some memories. 30 consecutive hours that I spent at school.
Yeah.
Further questions from colleagues for the registrar of voters? Seeing none, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, everyone at the table, appreciate it, and I appreciate your sharing as well.
Okay, so now, thank you for your presence, and now we'll go to the Fair Rent Commission.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Names and addresses for the record, please.
Elise Bermudez, 233 Front Street, apartment A, New Haven.
I'm Ron Williams, 20 Lancelot Drive, North Haven, Connecticut, acting corporation counsel.
All right, so good evening, everyone. As you all know, the Fair Rent Commission, we deal with proposed excessive rental charges, complaints when the tenant files to our office, and as well as resolving disputes between tenants and landlords, along with recognizing tenants unions, and as well as maintaining stable and fair and adequate housing. So for this evening, wanted to provide you with the main points. There is a proposed salary increase by $28,000, rising to $230,117. And We also would like to propose an amendment. And I believe you have a specific term in terms of how the amendment is made.
Technical amendment.
So you're giving us a heads up about a technical amendment that the administration will request, right, as we deliberate in May.
That is correct.
Okay.
If you look at page 13 of the presentation at the bottom, so what happened is we published the budget, and then there was further conversation after the budget was published and more, consideration, operational consideration from the Fair Rent Commission on how to best, do the work that they do. And so the part-time positions paid at, when you combine the pay, it comes to $55,620 for 2 part-times. That it would be advantageous to the department just to have 1 account clerk to do that work. So that was the proposal that came in after the budget has been published. And we believe due to the timing, we're in budget deliberations now, that it would make sense to consider that in a technical.
So noted. And could you just say a word why it would be more effective to have that
Yes.
full-time position as opposed to 2 part-time?
We believe it's going to be a lot more streamlined to have 1 account clerk. And we saw this, for example, play out during the investigations that we had with the tenants unions. So it requires a lot of methodical analysis and looking at data. And it's very detailed oriented. And to have 2 different part-time individuals coming in at different times is very disjointed, the process of it, not just for the tenants union investigations, but also carrying out into the cases themselves, for instance, when we have to close out cases. So overall, that's why we're recommending the 1 account clerk for $47,305. So that would be the amendment that we're proposing. Along with that, the business travel and general office supplies remain unchanged. Duplicating supplies decrease by 1,500. Other contractual services would be decreased, so it decrease 1,900. Uniforms remain at the same amount at 800, and those are the proposed changes. I did want to highlight for fiscal year 2025 to 2026 what the Fair Rent Commission has been doing. And so overall, we have experienced a case growth of 418 total complaints, along with 23 community events. So this includes workshops, tabling, also presenting at any of the local radio stations and getting the word out and meeting the community where they're at. We also have, during that fiscal year, registered 4 new tenants unions. We've amended the ordinance to expand for retaliation complaints and tenants union recognitions. We in the city of New Haven serve as the chair of the statewide Fair Rent Commission's network, which we actually started. Now, given the state mandate for Fair Rent Commissions, we have a total of 40 participating municipalities who are part of the statewide Fair Rent Commission's network. We've also updated our bylaws, and we've partnered most recently with the Yale British Art Museum. We're going to have an event with them actually on April 9th. If you want to mark your calendars, we'll be here at City Hall at 5:30, where we're going to be unveiling youth artwork around the theme of home and what the concept of home means for young people in New Haven. We've also created video content and updated more of our social media platform to get the word out to the community. And we have produced new onboarding training manuals for both commissioners and as well as staff, something which hadn't been implemented several years prior to. So 5 years ago, that didn't exist. For the goals and initiatives moving forward, we would like to create a survey for the community so that we can really learn more about what additional items the community would like to see within the Fair Rent Commission, and as a way to be connected with the community so that we could provide quarterly newsletters. We would like to publish an infographic on the report on case trends that we're experiencing, And we would also like to host more high school and college students. And of course, this upcoming fiscal year to amend our ordinance again so that we can include certain best practices that we learn regarding the tenants unions recognition process.
Thank you for that information. Anything else that you'd like to share with us before we start with our questions? Seeing no further information, the queue is open for questions from committee members for the Fair Rent Commission staff. Questions from committee members, Alder Furlong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And congrats on all the hard work that such a small department does throughout the year. What happens, maybe this is more for the chair, I know it's a technical amendment, but I'm just wondering where that 8,300 goes. Is it absorbed into, because there's an $8,300 difference between the positions.
Right. We would welcome the administration to suggest what they think should happen with that. But of course, since it's the committee that will make the amendment, we could actually decide what would happen with that.
Yep, already got some ideas, Mr. Chair. Okay.
Although I'm sure the department would like to keep it in the department.
And my last question is, Director, where do the bylaws come from? Who writes them? Who reviews them, and who approved them?
Yeah. So when I first stepped into, and this is a great question, when I first stepped into this role, the bylaws, this was now 4 years ago, had not been amended since 1983. And we shortly thereafter amended our bylaws. And so the amendment process is a collaboration between Corporation Counsel's office and as well as the commissioners themselves. So right now we have 9 commissioners, and we look at what's in front of us, and if there are specific outliers of items that are occurring where we see that there are gaps in our existing bylaws, then that leads us to then, through the Corporation Counsel's office, make a proposal to the commissioners for them to recommend to update the bylaws. But the only entity that could actually formalize those changes is by vote through the commissioners themselves.
Is that by state statute? I'm just wondering because most, any department that has been created by ordinance or adopted by ordinance by this legislative body, normally, historically, the bylaws have been approved by the legislative body. That's why I'm just wondering if this is something, because some of what you do is on the state level, so you may have different requirements by state statute. That's why I'm just wondering.
I'm not aware of that. My experience has been that the commissions or themselves have approved and amended their bylaws, but we can certainly look at that, and if there's an impropriety of something that hasn't happened, we could present them to the legislature and the board members.
Through you, Mr. Chair, not that I'm looking for more work for this body to do, but it might be good to get it right. If that's the case.
So noted, we should get to the bottom line.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you, Alder Furlong. Further questions from colleagues? I think I saw Alder Festa on the queue. And then the queue's open after that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your presentation. And I will reiterate in your hard work for a department of 2. My question is regarding the technical amendment, which goes from 2 part-time positions to 1 full-time position. Do the part-time positions actually get benefits?
No, they don't.
Will the full-time position get benefits?
Yes,
it would, yeah.
It would be 884.
There's your $8,300 difference plus some. Yeah, so we have to consider that as well, because it's a salary of $47,305, but then we have to add health benefits and whatever other benefits are associated with even the contract, right? Because it's an 884
yes
contract. Okay, just wanted to make a note of that, and thank you for clarifying that part-time does not, but the full-time would. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Festus. Next on the queue is Alder Wingate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. Also, thank you for thinking of best practice ways with your department moving forward and partnering up with the unions and giving them a voice for the people. Thank you for that. With the caseload growing and you only have 2, how are you navigating with what you have?
Well, just to clarify, it's not just 2. We have myself, the field representative, and the administrative assistant. And so we would like to then make, instead of having 2 part-time data control clerks, make it into 1 full-time position.
Okay.
So that has been tremendously helpful because of the growth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Wingate. Further questions from colleagues? Further questions from colleagues? Seeing none, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
We'll now move to the assessor's office. Page number?
Page number 17.
17. Name and address for the record, please.
Alex Pullen, Acting City Assessor, 6 Pequot Avenue, North Haven.
What would you like to tell us about your budget request?
Well, I was here in front of you all not too long ago on March 9th, where I discussed the intricacies of the grand list. So today, I'll just be doing a brief overview and letting you know about our budget, which is pretty much status quo, but has one small change. So for anyone who's not familiar, Assessor's Office is responsible for the fair and equitable valuation of taxable property in the city. We ensure that the assessments are accurate and transparent, and we have to comply with state statutes. Our office maintains property records. We conduct evaluations, one of which is coming this October. We process exemptions, and we provide assessment information to taxpayers, as well as real estate professionals and other stakeholders. This work supports the city's revenue system by establishing the taxable grand list, which forms the basis for municipal property taxes. And through consistent oversight and valuation practices, our office helps ensure a fair and equitable distribution of the tax burden across the community. So now on to the numbers, the meat and potatoes. The assessor's office budget, what page numbers is that? Numbers on it.
18.
Okay. So as you can see on page 18, the assessor's office budget for fiscal year 27 has increased by $4,061 from $953,076 to $957,137. And that entire increase is a result of the contractual increase for the executive management, the 3%. If you look at the assessor's budget in total, you will see that our budget is pretty much all salaries. We are 95% salaries. One small change on page 18, you will see that our professional meetings was increased by $2,650. And there is a corresponding decrease of $2,650 in our books and maps. We try to keep things as even as possible. If we see somewhere where we can save money and there's another place where we need money, we try to move it around. Those are the only changes that we have. The Board of Assessment Appeals is constant at $10,000, with 9 being salary and 1 being their other contractual services, which for them would be comprised of any materials that they need or outside things that they would need to buy. So it really wouldn't be contractual in the way that the assessor's contractual services are things like CoStar, which is our appraisal valuation service which is separate from vision. So this is where we get our commercial data when we need to go prepare for court appeals and things of that nature. So that basically explains the increase in our budget, and there are no other changes.
Anything to add?
No.
Madam Director?
Well, thank you so much for that presentation.
And now we'll have questions from committee members about the departmental budget for the assessor's office. Questions from colleagues. Alder Furlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Number of employees are in your department, please? Thank you.
11.
Thank you for your presentation.
We've got 11 employees.
I'm wondering also, my final question, you must have tons and tons of records, I would imagine.
We do.
Most of it is computerized. Do you have paper records?
We have both. We have a number of paper records in the form of personal property declarations and income and expense forms, which are basically the way that we get data on every business in the city so that we can accurately value the commercial property. So those forms are sent out, self-report data. The business owners fill them out, let us know what their income and expenses are, and we gather that data for years. And when it's time to do the revaluation, we look at the trends over the past few years and use those to help formulate the new values. We also have our personal property declarations, which the majority are filed online, but we still have a good deal of people who do not like to file online and they would rather file paper. We have paper forms for our elderly benefits programs because we actually need to send copies of things to the state, and we need to take copies of people's financial information, their tax returns, and things of that nature. So it's a combination of both. And then of course we've got books. Certain things we are never allowed to destroy, such as the real estate grand list books. We've got them going back to the 1930s.
So it is a finance question, Mr. Chair. So I'm wondering if your department, and this is probably going to be for IT, but I am keeping track of the departments. Will your department eventually, or is it already involved in scanning your paper documents into some digital form?
We currently do that for a lot of our motor vehicle documentation because we find, one, it's easier to find it when we need to pull something from a long time ago. But there was a point in time when someone came to our office and did an assessment of all of the paper documents that we have and what it would take to digitize them all. And I just think the cost was so great that the city ended up not doing it.
I think, actually, this, IT will get to this probably. They are doing it slowly. Some departments have had it done. And there's a progression, but I don't think.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet, but what we do is the moment that the statutory deadline for us keeping a record passes, we submit documentation to the state and request that we can dispose of it so that we don't have to keep so much unnecessary paperwork around. So as soon as those, for some things it's 5 years, for some things it's 7 years. And once that happens, then we have the big blue bins from DocuShred that we put them in there because it's all confidential information. We can't just throw them out. We have to shred it.
And that budget for scanning or for shredding, does that come from your budget or is that in IT's budget?
That is not in our budget. All I know is that they just drop the blue bins in our office and say, drop them. I think it's a citywide.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's the blue bin budget. That's a budget scavenger hunt right there. Find the blue bin budget.
Thank you, Alder Furlow. Further questions from colleagues? Further questions from colleagues for the assessor's office? Seeing none, thank you for your time here this evening.
Thank you for your time, committee, and Madam President.
So next on our list is the Department of Finance /Other. This it ends up covering a number of things.
Yeah.
The divisions of the finance, I think you're probably also going to slide into the Office of Policy and Grants. So the next two items are kind of joined at the hip. There's also some of our structural costs here, benefits.
Benefits?
Is it, no. It's like, okay.
Page 20.
Page 20, and we'll get names and addresses for the record.
Ron Busy, 219 Rainbow Terrace, Camden.
Rebecca Bombera, 122 West Track Avenue, acting controller right now.
Michael Simeon, 639 Tamarack Road, Cheshire, Connecticut.
Please.
So the Department of Finance is comprised of a number of divisions that help to steward the city's financial dollars. We have a standalone department as the assessor's office, but we also have tax collection, payroll, accounts payable. The separate but apart department within finance is IT, which is also here today. We have procurement. We also oversee central services that does citywide contracts and services, such as those blue bins for shredding. So you will find that in the other contractual line item there. And central services via the purchasing department is working on our digitization project that was funded through the capital budget. So it is an infrastructure project, generally speaking. So that is an ongoing project, slowly working our way through the departments within available resources. It is a lot more costly than you'd think to scan and store documents. This is, you will see before you, it was communicated at your last full board meeting, a agreement for Omni's software, which will be our new document management software for all of those scanned documents. It is a multi-year agreement established through cooperative procurement, but because it's a multi-year agreement, you guys have received that for communication. We can talk about it much more in depth there. What we have before you is a pretty status quo budget with two main changes. One of those changes is additional personnel. The budget proposes a deputy controller. That is important as we see transitions all the time. And having deputies is important for continuity, for development. You see, we just saw our deputy fire chief come before you for promotion to fire chief. It's nice to have a bench. It allows us to have that continuity of personnel and quickly fill seats. So you don't see people like your deputy CAO acting as your controller. You have somebody there and ready to go in the case of a vacancy. In addition, you have an additional position for internal audit. We want to get to a position that we are more proactive in a lot of the things that we're doing. Adding an additional position in internal audit will allow us to do all of the audit work we need to for contract compliance and for grants that use a lot of our internal audit capacity on now, but also go deeper into things like our credit card transactions and our vendors, making sure that we're getting charged correctly for things, just beyond the payment audit, but programmatic audits, things like cash controls. I just had the pleasure of rewriting an entire program over at the police department to ensure greater checks and balances are there. But we want to be able to do that on a proactive basis, always using best practices, and establishing a new position will help us stay ahead of the curve in that regard. And then you see a increase in our other contractual services for IT. We have been underfunding the budget there as contracts grow, software grows. We need additional dollars to maintain the contracts that we have and also to step towards the future, modernize some of the way we do businesses to reduce vulnerabilities. A lot of focus that they have on cybersecurity and making sure that we have the right software in place to
detect vulnerabilities, to protect our networks. So it's all very good money spent, and happy to have Mike add anything there before we answer questions.
Thank you, Rebecca. We're obviously we live in an environment right now where there's a lot of phishing emails coming into the department. There's a lot of people trying to get into our networks because they know that we've had an incident prior. All the municipalities have been getting these fake phishing notices for building licensing, payments, and what have you. So there's a lot of steps that we have taken to try to mitigate some of these phishing emails and vulnerabilities coming into our environment. Now, we don't necessarily have an additional person working on that full time. We have a network group, and those responsibilities are shared amongst 3 people in our network group to maintain the cybersecurity posture for the city. But Rebecca did indicate that our increase is in our maintenance line for our software services that we pay for. Software vendors, if it's not in the contract to go up a certain percentage a year, they could just go up whatever they want. So some of our newer contracts have a escalator in there that they can only go over a certain percent on an annual basis. Some of our other contracts that we have are based on volume and usage. So those are a little bit more unpredictable in the costing structure.
We can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. You haven't given your presentation yet for your department.
Would you like me to?
No, not necessarily. I'm just making sure. So let's pause here and ask if there's any questions for the acting controller, the director of IT, and friends in regards to the finance department. Alder Furlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your presentation. Could you give me a high-level structure? Don't have the organization chart. So there's the controller, and then how many employees? Because you're asking for a deputy there.
I'll have to get back to you on the number of employees, but there are.
Let me not say employees, because that's really broad. How about supervisors?
So each division has a supervisor. So accounts payable has a supervisor, payroll has a supervisor, pension has a supervisor, the tax office has a supervisor, IT has both the system-wide supervisor and then the division supervisor, and then procurement has a supervisor.
So who would be the direct report to the controller?
All of those division heads are direct reports, in addition to an EA, a contract compliance individual, and another clerk.
So this might be a crazy question, but I'm trying to figure out why you would have to be acting controller and not someone who's in that department just become acting controller. If you have supervisors in that role, you're taking on double, triple, quadruple positions. I'm just wondering the structure and why that's necessary.
So those supervisors are all union members in the divisions. When you're supervising supervisors, it's good to be outside of the union. In addition, they all have very busy day-to-day responsibilities in terms of getting people paid, maintaining the systems and processes. So there's not excess capacity to take on those additional responsibilities.
Okay. And you do? Okay, don't have to answer that.
Very
Don't have to
efficient, very
answer.
efficient.
Okay, and then the tax collector falls where?
Tax collector is within finance and reports to the controller.
But it's sort of standalone.
It's, tax collector is,
It has its own budget, but it reports out management wise.
okay. Do they normally appear here, the tax collector?
It's a division of the department. The assessor
Oh, the
is a
assessor.
standalone department.
Sorry.
Okay. That's all I have for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Fairwell, for that. Further questions from colleagues on this item? Alderman Fessa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple of questions. You mentioned there's this other position for auditor, internal auditor, but is this elimination of a contract analyst? It says delete contract analyst, 80. Am I looking at the right? Or is that something else under the Department of
There
Finance?
shouldn't be any positions deleted. We'll have to take a look at that and get back to you to see if we had a scrivener's error.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if it's for a different department. Anyway, I'm looking at the sheets that we were given this evening, part of our packet.
Alder Festa, you're looking at the agency 137, Department of Finance. Delete
Yes.
contract analyst at 80,303.
Yes.
That might be a scrivener's error.
Yeah, there was some change in, when, they came to the Board of Alders and made a change throughout the year, but I don't think we eliminated them, but we can definitely double check.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes when we get those title changes, things get a little tricky.
Okay, yeah, thank you. If we could get clarification on that for you, Mr. Chairman.
So noted.
Thank you. So regarding this internal auditor financial and program position that you are requesting, how do we do the auditing now?
So we have 2 internal staff that do internal audits. A lot of their time is spent on grant compliance, auditing contract compliance, etc. This will increase the capacity to do more and to do more proactive.
So, and how many do we have? I'm sorry.
We have 2 plus a clerk.
So this would be a third.
Correct.
Dealing with,
So they all work on audit. This will expand the bench and again, get more into the proactive, programmatic, and best practices side of auditing.
okay. So we have 2 auditors already.
Correct.
Just to clarify, okay. And we also have.
In addition to our outside contractual
And I was
audit.
just gonna ask that too, because we also have outside auditors.
Every
that
year we
come
have a
in
third
every year.
party audit of all of, different functions.
Right, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Also, IT maintenance agreements increase. Now, don't we, and I can't find the capital budget. Is it not in this budget?
So we do a capital every 2 years. This is an off-year cycle. Some of our IT is funded through capital, but you only do your service agreements through capital on a new software. So it's you can do capital expenses at the start when you're implementing something new, because then that's amortized over the life of your contract and the software. Then it moves to the general fund when it becomes an operating and operating cost.
Okay, because I always see it as a line item under the capital budget.
It's in both places.
5 million, by the way. They were both 5 million. The contractual services was 5, I believe, the capital, and I can look it up.
Well, yeah, it's 5 million over 2 years.
Over 2 years,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so I'm not imagining.
No.
So there's no capital budget in this budget.
No.
But because we're on the 2 year.
We're on
But
down
can
here.
we, well, I guess I can find it from last year's budget book. Right.
Right, and also there might be some information about capital projects in the monthly financial report.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's just nice to see.
If you want to see like the status of a particular project that was funded or particular one.
Yeah, no, I'm referring to what we usually see in the budget book that.
Has the narrative
has the
associated with it.
narrative with
Right.
it. and
Right.
That's.
That'll be
that was
next year
before.
or last year.
Yes, I'll just look at last year's, but I just remember that there's always, line items in the capital budget or the narratives in the capital budget that also include IT stuff. This is in addition.
Correct.
To whatever.
This is the carrying costs of those things.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
I will say there's always a demand for more services. I mean, people know technology is moving and everyone wants it, and we're trying to put some guardrails around it. Because we just finished something for our auditors, and we had to look at every piece of software the city had, which was much harder than it should be. So we're trying to come out with a way that it's more streamlined so that we know exactly what software's out there and there's more control and transparency.
Okay. Like, does any of it contain AI?
Oh, yeah.
So it's built into a number of our platforms. It's predictive learning. So things like our procurement. If you've written a bid for your on-call electrician 5 times, it can reference your old bid, make recommendations based on best practices in the catalog that they have, and help you write a stronger bid.
And it's in all of our Microsoft tools. We're utilizing some of those tools a lot more, like our Microsoft 365. There's ways to automate lots of things. There's Copilot in there where we can look up, I use it all the time to look up complex formulas in Excel. Not that I couldn't figure them out, but it saves time.
So it increases productivity.
Yes.
Within a department, which is great because then we can do other things or catch up on other things that are in need of. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Festa. Further questions from colleagues? Alder Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I so just want to understand these IT maintenance agreements a little bit better. The document that we have says that they've increased by, I think that's $1 million there. And you have many titles. You indicated that this is existing software, not new software. Is that correct?
So a lot of it's existing software. It might be coming off of the where we were covering it under the capital initial purchase. Some of it is ARPA Cliff, things that were purchased on grants that are moving over. And as Mike described, some of it is the demands from the growth of contracts. You know, contracts grow over time, and if you don't increase your line item, then you can't have your software anymore.
And there's new ones that go on.
Yeah, so we just implemented grant management software to help us tracking and with compliance. We are working on increasing our automated payroll. So our timekeeping software is growing. We have adds to our financial management software that will increase our checks and compliance with vendors. There's a lot that's going on there.
And you said adds, are you referring to add-ons to existing software agreements? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Moore. Further questions from colleagues? Further questions from colleagues? Welcome back, Alder Morrison. Further questions from colleagues? Alder Festa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just noticed the contractual services at 975 on the form.
This is in her deck, right?
Central utilities.
Sorry, on page 21 of budget management deck.
Yeah, that is there's a lot. That is, I don't think the audit's in there, but there's it's sort of a catch-all for some contractual services.
So it's things like our shredding contract, our water coolers, our copy machines, the software digitization, our document DocuSign. So there's a lot of things that are used by everybody in there.
Our copiers, our paper, our WDB Mason.
Potpourri fund.
Yes.
It's the things that, yeah, it's the blue bins.
The blue bin fund.
You won the scavenger hunt over.
Okay. Thank you. It's just, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd be using that a lot.
Anyone who hasn't asked a question yet, wishing to ask one? Anyone who has, Alder Furlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one more quick question. I'm just trying to get my head around this deputy controller position. So where does it fall? Executive management or?
So yeah, the coordinator level positions fall within executive management.
The controller's coordinator?
Controller's coordinator level.
Coordinator level, but not recognized by the mayor's coordinator.
It's one of the key positions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Firma. So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions. One is, I'm wondering if it's feasible to, well, I'm gonna ask it, and you can tell me how feasible it is to answer it. How many software licenses or contracts does the city have?
We just sent it to the auditor. It's a lot.
We will get that report to you.
Is it like hundreds or thousands?
In terms of licenses or in terms of software
Yes,
systems?
yes.
So we have hundreds of systems, thousands of licenses. You figure everybody is a Microsoft user, that is a license. You know, we have
You have a spreadsheet that tracks all
Well, now we do.
of them. Now you do.
It's been a lot of work.
Completed the audit on that.
Yeah, so they're like, then it's sortable by annual cost.
Well, we just got it completed and we are going to code it in Munis so that we don't have to go through that again. So we're gonna put a commodity code with each one so that we know that it's software and set up a process in procurement and accounts payable where we're tracking it.
And keeping track of expiration dates and durations.
Yes.
And all this.
Mhm. That's exactly what we had to do because if it's more than, if it goes over a year, it's considered a digital asset. I could get in the weeds I want.
Well, so we won't do that now, but through the chair, which is me, we're gonna wanna see that.
Sure.
When you've got it into good shape.
Sure.
Just to
It's
understand.
It's good.
Just to understand that, like any organization is going to have lots of those kinds of arrangements.
Yeah.
Because we live and work in a computerized world, but it would be interesting to see that. So thank you for that. So my other question is about implications of the formatting changes.
Yes.
Right, so like the way we have traditionally done this is through organizations, agencies with agency numbers.
Mhm.
Right, so for example, Department of Finance is agency 137.
Mhm.
Right, in the budget book, it used to be like 137. And you could check the pages where agency 137 was still the agency that you're talking about, because that number was right there.
Mhm.
And the way that it's printed out now, there is no agency numbers with the, I'm looking, for example, at budget book page 2-54.
Yes.
Makes it a little bit harder to follow. And then there was also finance other, right, with numbers like 404, 405, 407, 408, 600, 802, 804, 805.
Various orgs, the
Various
404s.
orgs, salary reserve, medical benefits, they all fell under finance.
Right.
They're not, you can find them in the budget book, but it's in a different place, it seems to me.
Because they're in order based on the org code, which is how we code
Right.
and spend.
So in years past,
Yeah.
those things, other organizations, salary reserve, medical benefits, they were all, when you came before us, finance came before us, you were ready to talk about it because it fell under finance. It sounds like maybe it doesn't fall under finance anymore.
Medical benefits is under its own category.
It is, but historically, this is the night when we would talk about
Okay.
it. So we could talk about it now, or we could save it for later,
Sure, we can.
depending on whether or not you're prepared.
Sure, I'm prepared. I will tell you, so I looked under the page. It's 805, I believe.
805, yes. It's increasing by $9.8 million.
Yes.
That's kind of what I was asking.
Because that's a lot of
Health
money.
insurance, yes.
That's not $8,500 that's freed up because of making two positions. That is bigger than that.
So it's on
Let's
page
talk about the big number.
2-61 in the budget.
Yes.
And it did, we increased that, we got a range of how much health insurance could go up. And we are at the lower end of the range. It was anywhere from 10% to 17%. And so we put it at the lower end of the range in order to balance out the budget. And
This is the city's consultant?
So,
Or is
yeah.
this Anthem?
oh no,
Who
this is
said this?
Gallagher.
Gallagher, yeah.
Yeah, so this is working with, we are, for those of you, and we have some new faces, the city is self-insured. So we work through our administrator, which is Anthem, and through Gallagher which is our third-party consultant that helps us with plan design and cost avoidance, to one, manage the costs and to project them. And as Shannon indicated, the industry is seeing significant growth. It's a pressure that all of our colleagues are seeing. We were just talking about that with some of the rating agencies the other day in terms of the healthcare growth in the systems right now. So it is unfortunate that the increase is as big as it is, but as Shannon indicated, it is a conservative increase that we're comfortable with right now.
It was within the range that we had received from Gallagher. We work closely, we're building a stronger relationship with Anthem. We do have our wellness team to try to educate, employees on things that they can do to stay healthy. When we do labor contracts, it is always a major issue and a major concern. And, I've just gotten new reports for these upcoming labor negotiations for, things we can consider when we do those negotiations, including increased contributions from employees and things like that. So we are looking at that. There was a study done last year. We were looking at the state plan versus, I think that was part of the teachers' contract.
Yes.
The state plan versus Anthem. And for now, we're sticking with Anthem, and we increased it 10% this year. So that's where most of the employee benefits increased. We can also talk about, we'll get it to it when we get to my office, the risk insurance. But yeah,
Are they talking, is it like GLP-1s, hospital costs and high cost claimants? Is this what they're talking about?
Well, last year in particular, we had a significant amount of really high cost claims.
Right.
I think there were it's off my memory, 10 over $500,000.
Right.
So right off the bat, that drove those costs up. So and then there were things for out of state services that were kind of driving up those costs. There
Among
are
active employees? Or
Generally within the retirees, those are legacy costs where they're enabled to retire, maintain the health plan that they had when they retired. We have since moved away from those plans. So those are things we wouldn't expect from retirees in the future, but they are legacy costs that we continue to absorb.
But you're correct, GLP-1s are part of it. Some therapeutic treatments drive up the cost as well.
Okay. 10 to 17% is a pretty whopping figure.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we were kind of doing okay for a few years where the trend was like 3, 4, 5%. 6 is like a kind of like a number that is typical, maybe 8, but 10 to 17, that's a whopping figure.
Mm-hmm. We definitely saw these back in my days in the budget office back in the 2008-9 era where we were seeing 10, 12, 15% increase projections year over year.
Okay. We already talked about debt service and pension payments in your overview, so I won't ask for those again. When we look at the information, but I noticed that last year we put money in for the Coordinated Food Action Network.
Yes.
That money's been taken out.
Yes, that was the extra appropriation was utilized for that.
Okay, so you saw it as a one-time thing.
Yes, and it wasn't just me. It was, the mayor.
Yes.
The mayor
Okay.
proposed, but
I expect that they'll be asking for it again, but okay. So that was the administration's view that this was a one-time thing. Okay. Thank you very much. For further questions from colleagues about this item, we will be going to the Office of Management, Budget and Grants next. So, Alder Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a clarification for the salary reserve increased by, there's a comma before the 446,131. Is it more than that, or is that just want to make sure it's not in the.
It was, I think it's more than that, because that was just for the police.
It's the 407.
Yeah, 407. So part of that reserve is, no, the 436 is how much it increased over the prior year. So the actual amount was $6.1 million is what we paid. 4 million of that is the police second payment for the retro. Because they had to pay, we had to pay the first payment last fiscal year, and then the next one was due in 18 months. So 18 months is in 2027. So that right off the bat, $4 million is for the police retro. And then the rest is for all the contracts that are currently being negotiated.
So so here it says salary reserve increased by comma 446,131.
446.
On our packet sheet 407.
So that's probably a scrivener's error for a year.
Okay.
You're worried that there's another digit to the left of the comma?
Yeah.
No.
Which would be bad?
I think I know what happened. So we put our budget up on the website immediately after the mayor's press conference. And then we took the weekend to fine tune and quality check because we're under the gun, and we put out another one on Monday. That could be probably where these are.
So there is a number missing on our sheet. Okay.
Yeah.
But the one that's printed is the quality checked. The one that's on the
Yes.
website now
Okay.
was all.
You might have had some fat fingers.
I'll get it all together.
Is that your follow-up?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll request any further questions for the finance department. Seeing none, we'll move on to the Office of Management Budget and Grants.
Okay. Would you like finance to say?
Well, if they have something to say, they can stay, but if they don't, they may leave.
All right. Okay. Well, I will just go straight to, I won't read the overview of what we do. We meet regularly, and you know exactly what we do, and we report to you frequently.
You appear monthly before this August committee, yes.
So I'll go straight to the budget, and I will give you some updates on some of the things that we're working on. So the first change in our office is there was a reduction in salaries, and that was mainly because we hired people in at a different rate. So what the budgeted rate is what you see in the budget, but when we actually made the offer, it came in less than what was budgeted mostly because of experience. So that's what that reduction is there mainly. And then everything else is status quo. And then the treasurer's office also reports to us. That is a status quo budget as well. We are working on hiring an audit coordinator because we are absorbing some of those functions via contract, and we really are going to, we're starting the interview process soon so that we get someone in so we won't have to use that third party. But the third party is, we work closely with them for things like the software, inventory that we had to do for the audit, and some other really pretty technical things that the auditor requires. But we're working hard to make sure we have an audit coordinator, and we will do our best to get someone hired in the next couple of months so we can get them trained. Then there's a page in between. If you go to page 28, we can look at, that was treasurer, so I was talking about treasurer before, but the accounting department is the next one. It's status quo as well. That's the one where we're gonna bring in the audit coordinator. So there's no changes to that budget. And then workers' comp and risk management, there's no change to that budget as well. They're all under contracts that did not get a salary increase. So those are flat until a contract is negotiated. But one thing I did want to highlight, as we were talking about benefits before, is the liability insurance, the number, self-insurance, here it is. So on page 2-60 of the budget document, you will see that our self-insurance fund went up $1.25 million. So we had budgeted in the prior year $9.25 million under other contractual services for our liability insurance, and that includes flood, fire, workers comp is part of that. There's, you know, a lot of contractual services, actually workers comp is part of that. So those, it's cybersecurity insurance is part of that. So those premiums increase, and they increase pretty much every year. The team works really hard to bring those costs down and make sure we're in compliance with all the things that the insurance providers need. For instance, we worked really hard to get our cybersecurity down after, you know, we had an incident, and so that price actually came down. But other ones go up, you know, because of environmental risks and things of that nature. So you will see that there was an increase there, and I just wanted to point that out. Other than that, for Office of Policy Management and Grants, it's pretty much status quo. I will say we've worked on some things that we think will bring a lot of value to the city this year, and we're just about to roll out our new grant management system. We worked with OpenGov so that we have much greater transparency. It's a really much more intuitive way to look at grants. In Munis, it's a little bit opaque, if you ask me. It was, you know, since I started, that was quite a challenge. But luckily I had Ron Gizzi, who knows it like the back of his hands. And then as the federal government was making cuts to certain grants, you know, we were in a hurry to track these things. So what we've done is we have OpenGov, and we have all of our grants loaded into it, and it's very intuitive, it's connected, it has AI capabilities. So when you look for grants, you can just type in, you know, environment, and you'll get anything related to the environment. And it also allows us to track, you know, reimbursements and make sure that we're in compliance with all of the federal grants in particular, make sure we don't have audit findings for how we manage our grants. We haven't rolled it out to the Board of Education yet. We're just going to roll it out citywide now. And I'm going to actually let Ron, did you want to add anything about it?
It will, it's, what we're trying to do is really centralize where all the grants are housed. So we know where the information is. We know when people are applying for grants. And again, some of the grants don't come before, everything comes before you. But we want to know, are there matching funds, and what are those matching funds? Are they identified? Yeah, we can get $1 million grant, but now there's $1 million match. Do we have that? Do we really want to do that? So things like that, this is really going to help with that. And then just for audit purposes, again, everything will be in a central location. Everybody can access it. We don't have to go searching for documents. Everything will be right there. And the grant finding portion of this is going to be helpful too. And we have one that we have now. We may keep that one. It's only $4,500. So we may keep that one. And that's a lot of federal grants that we can find with that grant finder software.
We believe that it will have a lot of operational value, and we're just getting ready to launch it. And another thing, you know, I know there's some adjustment to how we're doing the budget, and we can certainly discuss how it should look going forward. But what we were trying to do is use the technology we have, because everything was very manual. Last year, there were a lot of issues with broken formulas and things of that nature, because it was this huge spreadsheet, and I don't know if I didn't have enough RAM on my computer or something, but it would crash my computer all the time. And it was a real challenge last year. So this year we were trying to use the technology we had so that we could make things more efficient. So this format is how Munis basically, you know, puts out the budget. And so we basically format it a little bit, try to make it look a little more cleaner. We put, you know, sections, you know, we just use some color, clean up the sections, things like that. But our whole approach was to utilize technology for greater efficiency. For instance, all of the positions here, this is still fairly manual, but we did it more like a database so that it could be loaded. And this is all going to be loaded in Munis too. And that is our goal this year. And then this will connect to HR. So whoever is working for the city, it will automatically tie to the budget. So there won't be any more, I mean, the amount of manual tracking that it takes to keep this sheet up is hours and hours. And so the whole premise behind the way this budget looks was to use the technology that we had. Open to suggestions about how we can make it look more user-friendly, things of that nature. But that was a lot of the things that we were working on this year is using technology, being more efficient, and being more transparent.
Creatures of habit.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to say before we ask questions?
No.
Questions from colleagues? Questions from colleagues? I'll get those up.
With this grant finder, obviously, it gives you an option to, or an opportunity to find grants. Well, where does an accepted grant go? Does that go into a particular category, or how it's tracked and how the money is spent and all that?
So everything, there is a process, and this is something else that we're working on. We wanted a clear process, especially now with some of the federal requirements. There's DEI requirements. There's too many things to think about. So we are having Corp Counsel as a sign off on this. So it would be a workflow similar to we have a workflow for invoices, say. So it's going to go through that workflow, make sure it passes all those checks before it gets here. So the mayor, ultimately, it'll be the last step will be the mayor signs it, and then it's submitted here to the Board of Alders for approval. And then after that, we set up a separate funding source for that to keep track of everything. And that is, the special fund portion is in it's section 5 of the budget book. And this is basically informational. There are funds in here that we may not get. There are funds in here that are not included that we possibly could get as well. But again, everything is coming to you guys for approval because it's a change in a budget. That's how it's written in the charter. So that's the process. So we get the grant, goes through the process. We set up a separate funding source so we can keep track of everything.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Punzo. Further questions from colleagues on this department, Office of Management, Budget and Grants? We will talk more about the formatting.
Sure.
I think my bandwidth is decreasing as the hour gets later.
Sure.
But it's harder for me when I eyeball the pages to know where the heck I am.
Okay.
Because it's all kind of the same in the hierarchical where there's no indenting for hierarchical relationships.
Yeah.
So that you see a page and you can just squint at it and those are the agency roll-ups and that's the subtitle, so when everything's the same width on the page, it's just like.
We can fix it.
So anyway, that's not a very good technical description. But I found those pages to be difficult to understand.
That was not the.
And not to, but you certainly saved some trees, so we can use for that. So.
There's very few typos.
Well, we're glad to know that as well.
Mr. Chair, I have one.
Do you have a question? Yes, Alder Rodriguez.
So are you sharing that, basically any director, supervisor, anyone that is interested in identifying grants could be able to utilize this program?
Yeah.
Anywhere in the city, as long as they are employees of the city.
Right, like that's, well, I mean, yeah, it would be for the city. We haven't, I'm sure once we get this up and running, because of the way, it's very intuitive, the system, we are going to present it to the Board of Education. They're not included in it, but we will certainly, present it to them and see what the interest level is.
And your department would then be aware of anyone that's pursuing a grant.
Right, and also there are other initiatives going on where when there is a match, so we're trying to manage those projects in a way where you will see the, especially projects where there's multiple funds, right?
If there's a capital match, we will set up it's called a project code. So I'll just use an example, 270 Foxland Boulevard. We have many funding sources going into that project. So we have the project code. So there could be general fund, there's capital, there could be grants going in there, a few different kind of grants. So all of those, we have a project code 270FX for 270 Foxton Boulevard. So we can look, we can track that better. So that's one of the other things we're going to be doing with this. Because same thing, people can say, okay, yeah, we got this $1 million grant and there's a $500,000 match and we're going to use capital. But somebody may have already used that capital. So now if we set up that project code,
Yes.
it holds that money.
It's also an issue, especially with capital funds, capital funds must be spent on capital funds. You must disclose, you must, you report back, especially when we get state money. We have to report every single expense and make sure that it is capital eligible. So this will ensure that when we say that we have, whether it's bond funds or grant funds, or that it is being used appropriately. And we'll have cleaner audits, we'll have cleaner disclosure documents, we'll be in compliance with all the rules that are around capital financing, especially like SEC. When you put out a bond document and you say you're spending that money on those projects, you better spend that money on those projects. Mm-hmm. And we really can't afford to have any sloppiness there. So that's what we're trying to strengthen as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Rodriguez. Any further questions for this department? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now move on to the Corporation Counsel. The Office of the Corporation Counsel. The penultimate department for this evening.
This would be one case where there will be a small fiscal adjustment because we put the salary increase, but we didn't put the stipend in the salary. I'm going to be presenting that.
You might just use that. Yeah. So once you folks are settled in, we'll ask you for your names and addresses for the record.
Good evening. I am Catherine Lamar, and my address is 1654 La Gracia Boulevard, New Haven.
Michelle DeFray, Deputy Corporation Counsel, 1757 Road, East Bay.
And hello again, Roderick Williams, 20 Lancelot Drive, North Haven, Connecticut. I'm the Acting Corporation Counsel for another couple weeks.
Okay, well, glad to have you all here. We'd love to hear your presentation.
Okay, like I just mentioned, we have a new Corporation Counsel. She's beginning work on April 6th. I'll be running through this tonight. So our budget is, well, first of all, the Office of the Corporation Counsel, is the city's law office, and it provides legal counsel to city departments, officials, and boards and commissions for matters relating to their official duties. What that includes, in addition to providing legal advice, is also drafting all the contracts that departments may need, and defending the city and its departments and officials when they're sued in court, or there are complaints that go to administrative agencies of the state office to provide counsel and appear on people's behalf and on the behalf of the departments of the city. Some of those administrative agencies include the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, the Freedom of Information Commission. Those are probably the two most common. Other agencies where we have appeared relatively frequently recently are the State Elections Enforcement Commission, Codes and Standards, which handles building department matters, Department of Agriculture, and the Health Department. There are others as well, which are the ones that come to mind. And the litigation is obviously in state and federal court, and that's an ongoing endeavor. So the budget is mostly static. There are only two notable increases. One is in the books and maps that the city or the office needs, and that's a $10,000 increase, and it's driven by a contract that the office has with Westlaw, which is the city's, or or the department's legal research database. And it's a 5-year contract that was approved by the board, and there are escalations from year to year. And this would be to pay for one of those escalations so that we can keep utilizing that. It's a critical resource that the attorneys in the office use. And the other is in the oft tonight mentioned other contractual department or section. And for our office, most of what that includes is experts and appraisals, other matters that we might need to help in court. Appraisals or for tax appeals. Experts are typically for personal injury actions or other cases where we will need that. The cost of court reporters has also gone up. It seemed to happen, from my perception, really at around the time of COVID. They started court reporters started adding in an extra fee to appear by Zoom. And now they have an extra fee to appear in person. It kind of just never went away, and so those rates have gone up a little bit. And so this is to keep up with that. Another thing that we've experienced that's increased the cost for this section is document management services that we need to use sometimes for organization of files. We had one lawsuit this year that had over 100,000 emails that had to be extracted from IT and then organized. And it was something that we had to use particular software and a storage bank to actually manage it. And so I think it's just the nature of the way things are going now. There's more data, and it just becomes infused in some of these suits. And so, so that drives the cost up also for other contractual. For outside counsel, the amount that is being requested is the same amount that was authorized last year, and so there's no increase there. I think in terms of the number of cases that are outside counsel, that we have at outside counsel has decreased in number, but there are still some significant cases that are ongoing, and some during the next year that are actually going to trial. We have trial dates, one in September, October, and another in January next fiscal year. And those are both in larger police misconduct cases from arrests in the 1990s. And so those tend to cost a lot to defend and particularly to put through trial. I don't have anything else to add. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Anything else from your colleagues or from our Director of Management and Budget? Seeing none, we'll take questions from colleagues about the budget for the Office of the Corporation Counsel. Questions from colleagues? Alder Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you said you have these contracts with outside counsel for litigation services, is that correct?
Correct.
And so when you look at those contracts, is there any way that you can manage litigation spend so that, are you checking to see if it's an associate that's billing or if it's a partner, and is it appropriate to use one or the other? Do you understand my question?
I understand the question, absolutely. And usually, in fact, I think on all of them, there are different rates for partners and for associates to do the work. The understanding that we have typically is that where an associate can do the work, they will. A lot of times the work requires that a partner perform the work, but in my talking to them, and I review the invoices too, I've actually been fairly impressed that they're very sensitive of the cost of the city. And the rates that we usually get also for both tend to be a lot lower than what they will charge. They call it the municipal rate, but my predecessors in the office have been very good about making it clear that the city needs to have rates that are not exorbitant. And so they've been respectful in my perspective.
If I can just add a little bit, we also include in our contract terms that we pay for one lawyer on a call. If they have multiple, we pay for one. And if there's a need for multiple different levels of expertise, we have to prove it first. So it doesn't always happen Usually I know that one of the things that we use is we have a rather expensive energy council, and we pay for one, not multiples.
And my second question is, I think you mentioned cost of e-discovery somewhere in there. Is that correct?
Not e-discovery, but document management.
It's about 100,000 emails. Would
Right.
that fall under e-discovery?
I don't know that I'm not really sure. It was produced during the course of discovery, and the data was all electronic, but I'm not super clear on what e-discovery is, but it was.
So is that costing the city more because you're using a particular software provider like Everlaw to extract it, or I'm just trying to get a better understanding.
No. So this is the vendor for that was an organization called Target Litigation, and what they did was because we had all these emails that came from IT, we needed to have them sorted so that they could pull them, organize them, I guess, by certain keywords, or I don't know how else they organize them, but they would organize them in such ways that they could pin them to certain categories that are requested in discovery.
So that contract was creating the cost increase. Is that correct?
That was one. It was one item that we saw that we had never had before, and so I think it was anticipated that there might be more of those.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Moore. Further questions from colleagues? Alder Festa.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Question regarding, it looks like general fund total employees. Are you down 4 consuls?
No,
Or, because it says fiscal year 25, 26, total 23, and then 26, 27, 19.
Yeah, that looks odd, doesn't it? Because it's a total line, but the line that has any numbers in it is 19,19,0. So how do you get 23,994? That could also be a scrivener's error, because the total, there's only one line contributing to the number of positions, and that line gets 1919 with the difference of 0. So I think the GF total line there's like a phantom 4 jobs there that there's no line for, so I think that's probably a scrivener's error.
Okay, we'll go with that.
But I would think the acting corporation council would know if you're
I'm
not
not
filling for, or you're getting rid of 4 positions.
Not aware of a loss of 4 positions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, again, this is the part of our packet.
Yep.
Understood.
So just to be a scrivener's error. Okay. Now, you mentioned the increase by $10,000 for the, what was it, Westlaw?
Yes.
And I do remember that coming before us, right? Because it's a multi-year contract.
Yes, it did.
And it was an increase of what % per year? I don't remember.
I don't have it.
That's all right. I mean, it's a 5-year contract that escalates each year, and it turns out it's 10,000 for this year. How many more years of this contract do we have before we renegotiate?
Oh, I think there are 2 more after this.
Okay.
It's either 2 or 3, I can't remember.
Yeah, I remember it coming before us. I just don't remember which year. Okay.
I remember the pain of the negotiations.
And so it'll be something similar when the time comes for renegotiation. Is this the norm that it escalates? We're not tied into one number for the 5 years?
This particular agreement had an escalation in it. The Westlaw was selected through an RFP process, so there was a competitive process involved, which helped keep the price down because Lexus and Westlaw were competing for the business.
Right.
There's a minuscule difference between their price.
Now, was this the one that was without AI?
That's correct. AI is extremely expensive.
AI is expensive, but with the AI, cost aside, that would increase productivity though, or which means we could carry, not that I want you to work harder, but we do a lot of outside counsel, so I don't know if that would help retain some of the work inside.
I don't know what Rod thinks from the perspective of litigation, but I don't use AI to draft contracts. It's not going to increase productivity. We use templates because the city has standard forms of agreement, and it's important that we treat all vendors equitably, and we're not giving bespoke, terms for different vendors. I will say that there are some examples of lawyers that have used AI to draft briefs. They hit the legal paper headlines where they're quoting cases that don't exist. So I'm not a fan of AI, in case you haven't figured that out by now.
I have used AI in there are tools for lawyers outside of Westlaw, and I've used it to strategize, not write briefs, not for arguments, but what's the best strategy for negotiating a settlement in this type of case, that type of thing. So there are a lot of ways to use it, and some are better than others, obviously. But the Westlaw itself, I haven't used it, so I don't know what the options would be available for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you both for clarifying it and how it affects your department as well. Outside counsel, has that number decreased?
It's the same as it was last year.
Same as it was, but we make transfers throughout the year. Is that considered at all in the
It is
budget?
not in the budget, no.
Okay, so we don't consider, so any transfers that we do are going to be based upon cases that happened at that point in time. It's not going to be implemented into the budget.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Fasta. Further questions from colleagues for the Office of the Corporation Counsel? Further questions from colleagues? I think we'll probably be talking more about that number later on in our deliberations, because for me, it does seem rather optimistic to hold it steady from last year. But we shall see. We'll have time to consider that. Anything else from you all? Seeing none, thank you very much for being here and for sticking around almost to the very end. But we have, of course, saved the best for last, which is the Office of Legislative Services. Our very own Director Lucas is here to give the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. And then maybe you'll just hang around for the last part.
You are welcome to stay.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay.
All right.
Name and address for the record, please.
Name remains Albert Lucas. Address is 66 Harbor Close, New Haven, Connecticut. Again, we're presenting your staff's office budget. You're familiar with what the office does, which is to support the Board of Alders in carrying out all of those functions that the Board of Alders needs to do. It is a status quo budget. The only increases are the increases that you all were creative enough to make sure that the alders get in terms of your stipends and the executive management, which in our case is just the director, 3% across the board, like everyone else. Other than that, the budget remains the same year over year.
Thank you, Director Lucas. Anything else from you, Director?
No, it's status quo, except more of a small salary.
Thank you very much. Questions from colleagues for our Director of Legislative Services about the OLS budget? Any questions from colleagues about this budget? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Director Lucas, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
That is a that is the final departmental workshop for this evening. And we appreciate your time. Before a motion to adjourn is appropriate, let me just remind colleagues that our next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 24th. No, it'll be on Tuesday, the 31st. Why did I write down the 24th? Tuesday, the 31st of March. So that's a week from this coming Tuesday. We will have our second of 3 public hearings and then another round of departmental workshops. That is the next meeting for this committee.
Alder Punzo.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Motion to adjourn has been made and seconded. Any discussion of that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries. We are adjourned.
Sit next to you.